Hey guys. Quiz of the day. What's your favorite comfort snack? Is it chocolate, chips, popcorn or something else? Comment your answer below. By using emoji. Now, moving on to today's special What If Jacob Controlled Bella's Love Life Part 2. If you missed part 1, don't worry, you can find it in the description. This part is full of unexpected twists and drama, so let's get straight into the video. Let's get started. Once she arrived home, she grabbed her phone and went into the apartment. She could hear commotion in Angela's room, so she knew Embry was there. Bella grabbed her mail off the coffee table and went to her room, rubbing away her tears the whole way to her sanctuary. She pushed open the door and shrieked when she found Jacob sitting on her bed, waiting for her. "What are you doing here?" She crossed her arms and he stood up, sorrow in his eyes. "I told you the helicopter was faster." He tried to break the tension, but it wasn't working. "Jacob, what are you doing here?" She repeated her question, showing him that his attempts weren't working. "I came to see you." She wiped away more tears before frowning at him. "Well, I don't want to see you. Leave, now." She pointed out the door and he stood to his feet. "Please, Bella." She shook her head and scowled. "Oh, now." She ordered, but he wasn't caving. "Please, just listen to what I have to say. If you still want me to leave, I will." She crossed her arms and looked away from him. She didn't answer, but he knew she was giving him his moment to speak. "I'm so sorry I went off like that. That was wrong, and it wasn't you, Bella. It was me, and I don't know why, but whenever Rachel is around, I just get on edge." Bella squinted, irritation filling her. "Do you seriously think this is about you ranting?" She looked up to him and his eyes widened. "Well, why are you so upset?" She huffed before wiping away more of her tears. "Because you lied to me." His eyes widened in disbelief. "You lied to me and conned me into signing that damn contract with your lies." More tears came and her shoulders trembled with her emotional tears that spilled down her face. "How did I do that? I didn't lie to you about anything." She scoffed before her lip trembled. "Really? Do you remember what you told me when you first showed me the contract after I told you it sounded like you were asking me to be your sex slave?" He gulped and nodded. "I told you that it wasn't one-sided, that I would be yours and you would be mine, that I would be completely devoted to you." She nodded while gritting her teeth. "That's when you lied to me. You proved that tonight with what you said to me. You showed that the only thing that mattered to you is what you want, that you only will abide by your terms, and that all I am to you is a hole for you to stick your dick, so yes, you lied to me. My original assumption of your stupid contract was right. All you want out of me is sex and I'm not something special to you. I was an idiot to even believe that. You were just spouting off what you thought I wanted to hear to keep me sated." His jaw slacked before he approached her, sorrow, regret and pain in his eyes. "That's not it at all, Bella, and you should already know that." She huffed as more tears fell. "Really? Then, tell me this. If I abided by the contract, when I'm at your house, would I be sleeping with you in your bed?" He didn't answer her, but instead, looked away to her bed. "And if I were special to you, would you let me touch you, or wouldn't you at least talk to me instead of pushing me away anytime I try to be your shoulder to cry on like any good friend would?" His breathing became heavy as she asked these questions, but still, he said nothing in reply to them. "That's what I thought. There is the answer. I am nothing to you but a fucking sex toy, Jacob. I gave you that contract a little over 12 hours ago, and already you have shown me exactly how you feel." His eyes met hers to see her heartbreak in her eyes and disgust when she looked at him. "I want you to leave and to stay away from me, period." He gasped and quickly rushed to her, snatching her hands in his. "Please, don't do this, Bella. Just tell me, what do you want from me?" A sob left her lips and he pulled her into his arms, holding her close. "Please, don't cry, honey. I'm sorry I hurt you. You're very special to me. There are just some things I can't do." She shook her head as he guided them over to the bed where he affectionately kissed her forehead. Her will to push him away was caving quickly and her urge to fight it was dying down. His arms tightened around her as she buried her face in his chest. "Just tell me. What do you want, Bella?" His voice was so sweet and soft. It wasn't his normal voice. "I want you to open up to me." He pressed his forehead to hers and nodded. "And, when I'm at your house, I don't want to sleep in separate beds." She got no verbal response to this one. He sweetly kissed her lips instead of speaking. Her mind fogged and next thing she knew, they were laying in her bed, making out like two teenagers, feeling at each other and kissing passionately. His hand rubbed along her smooth cool thigh, up past the hem of her dress towards her panties. His mouth moved along her jaw and down her neck as she whimpered from his arousing touch. "Jake." She whispered his name and he groaned in his own arousal. He pulled back and stared down at her, face flushed, lips bruised and eyes full of desire. "Bella." He started to protest, but she shook her head, stroking his short, silky strands. "Please, just let me touch you." He gulped and nodded. "Just this once." She nodded and they resumed kissing as she gripped his hair in her hands, enjoying the feel of the strands between her fingers. She knew it would be a rarity where he would let her do this, so she was grateful for it. All she wanted was to touch him when they fucked, but she could tell this wasn't fucking what was about to happen. He didn't kiss her like this and go this low with it when they fucked. He was getting ready to make love to her. He pulled back for a moment to pull his shirt over his head and tossed it away. He was going to kiss her again when her hands glided down his well-defined chiseled chest. It was so perfect, no imperfections anywhere on his chest, that she swore his body had to be carved by Adonis himself. There was no other way any man could have a body as perfect as Jacob's physique. "Let's take this off," he whispered to her as he unclasped the front of her bra and pushed the straps over her shoulders. She rid herself of the material and went back to kissing him, clinging her hands to his muscular spine. She clawed at his bare skin as he groaned, teasing the rim of her panties with his thumb. "You are so beautiful, baby." He pulled out of the kiss with just enough space to work on his pants. While he was busy with that, Bella hurried to get rid of her panties. He smirked as he threw away his slacks and boxers when he found her completely nude for him, her legs spread to show her shaven, succulent peach. While his eyes were trained on her pussy, hers were on his delicious, stiff cock. "Jake." He looked to her eyes as she bit her lip. "Can I suck your dick, please?" He groaned and laid down next to her in the bed. "Go for it, babe." She crawled over to his erection and ran her tongue along the engorged appendage, softly moaning. He groaned as she took his head in her mouth, whimpering against his soft flesh. She sucked and ran her tongue along his tip. She was in heaven. He tasted just as good as the other time he had been in her mouth. "God, your mouth." He trailed off and gripped onto her hair as she took more of him into her mouth, her head bobbing and twisting just the right way to please him. "How the hell do you do that?" He moaned as she pulled him out of her mouth and ran her tongue along his length. "I just do what feels right. You taste so good." She took him back in her mouth and he gasped dramatically before thrusting into her mouth. "Odd, I bet you can't make me cum this time." He challenged her and she gagged herself on him, making him groan loudly. "Shit, baby. I'll take that challenge." She teased before taking him back in her mouth, working hard for his climax. He grunted and groaned as she took all of him that she could, enjoying the taste of his swollen bratwurst. She whimpered on him as she looked to his face, seeing his chest heaving, eyes heavy, and lips parted. She never could have imagined that someone's face could look as sexy as his did right then. She sucked harder, moved faster, and moaned louder against his stiff pole as he groaned louder. "Odd, just a little more." She reached her hand under his penis and fondled his sack. He gasped and grunted, gritting his teeth before letting out a loud sigh. In that moment, he released, his seeds filling her mouth. She was more than happy to take them and she swallowed his tasty cum before removing her lips. He picked her up and laid her on the bed before kissing her so lovingly. Her hands moved back into his hair as his hands rubbed all over her gorgeous body. "I'm gonna make you feel just as good as you made me feel." She moaned as he spread her legs and scooted down the bed. "Please, Jake. I want you." He groaned as he stroked her soaked core. "I need to get hard again. Trust me. This is going to make me very hard." She moaned as his mouth connected with her center and she arched towards him. Her hands gripping his hair, she mewed for more. She panted as she gazed down at his face and he swiped his tongue across her clit over and over. She whimpered as his eyes rolled before removing his mouth from her center. "Now, I'm hard as a rock." She nodded as he moved back up her body and their lips met in a passionate world-rocking kiss. She arched into him as he thrusted into her to the hilt. Her arms wrapped around his neck and her hands buried into his hair. Gripping onto her headboard, he steadied himself and started his soft rhythm of making love, gently rocking into her. She arched into him and cried out from how amazing it felt for him to be making love to her. His mouth moved to her sweet neck as she gripped onto his glorious ass, egging him to go harder. Harder, he did. The powerful impact of his thrusts had her headboard slamming into the wall and the legs of her bed screeching against the linoleum over and over again. "You are so amazing." He grunted in her ear as she gripped at him, enjoying how he was making her feel. This wasn't just physical. They had crossed a line that they knew could never be drawn again. He may not have been a man who did regular relationships, but this was not how sex was for someone who just wanted sex. They were connecting on an even higher level. This was the highest notch of lovemaking possible. Nothing could ever go above this. "Please, cum for me. I want to feel it." He whispered to her before he sat up, staring down at her flushed face. She whimpered as he grabbed her knees and held her thighs to his chest, pounding into her. She cried out and arched as he did this. He grunted with each thrust as he threw her over the edge, screaming as loud as she could. "That's it, baby." He released her legs and went back down to her level, kissing her passionately. He continued in on her for what had to be hours, changing position every so often to one she hadn't done before. He wouldn't get to a new position unless he got her to scream, whether she orgasmed or not. Once he climaxed, they laid in her bed together, holding each other close. Her head pressed to his shoulder as he rubbed her back and she played with the trail of hair down the middle of his chest. They exchanged a long, intense gaze before he pressed his forehead to hers, taking a deep breath. "What are you doing to me?" She wasn't sure what this question could possibly mean. She hadn't done anything that she knew of. Could he possibly mean she did something to his heart? She took a deep breath before gingerly placing her hand to his stubble. She whispered his name under her breath before he gulped. She pressed her cheek back to his chest and his fingers ran through her hair. "On my 16th birthday, my dad gave me this truck he had for a long time." He started to tell a tale as she listened closely. He had Rose fix it so it could be in perfect condition. "I was excited to have my first vehicle. Me and some of my friends decided to take it out for a drive for fun. It was Quill, Embry, the Hale twins, and me." She could hear in his voice that this was a hard tale to tell. "Jasper and Jalen were very close to me back then. We did everything together, but that ride changed that." He cleared his throat before he continued with his tale. "We drove around the reservation until we found this place where everyone dumped dirt. It had been raining a lot before we got there so it was really muddy. Once I drove into the dirt dump, one of my front wheels popped off." She quietly gasped as he said this. "I tried to stop my truck, but I was hydroplaning. My truck hit a stump and flipped. It tumbled 5 times before it came to a stop. At first I didn't know it, but the very back window of the truck slid open and Jalen went out the window as the truck was tumbling. He was crushed by my truck and he was dead before any of us realized he wasn't inside the truck anymore." She slowly sat up and looked to him. His expression was hard, unable to show any emotion, and she slid her hand over his. "That's why Rachel made that comment, isn't it?" He gulped visibly. "I was driving so I was responsible for Jalen's death." She slowly shook her head with sadness vibrating from within her. "Jake, there is no way you could have known that would happen. You shouldn't be blamed for that." Her voice was so soft, hoping to give him some comfort, but her words didn't. "Jasper blames me. He hates me because of what happened that day." She shook her head before she moved closer to him. "You had just gotten that truck, the mechanic who trained you was the one who fixed it up and you were just being a kid. You were going for a ride with your first vehicle. You shouldn't blame yourself and no one else should either." He huffed and she knew he was going to be stubborn about this. "I wasn't always an only child. I had a half-sister named Camille," she said quietly and his eyes snapped to hers. "My mom forced me to be in dance classes when I was younger like any mom would. One day, I stayed late for my class to hang out with some of the other students. I had never hung out with them, but I thought it would be fun. On the way to pick me up, my mom had a car accident and Camille died on impact. That's one of the real reasons I moved to Forks in the first place. I couldn't take the guilt." She shrugged and he sat up, rubbing her back. "Why would you feel guilty about that?" She frowned as she averted her gaze to her hands. "Because she was only out because I decided not to go home at my normal time. She would have been at home, in bed, but she was in that car, and now she's dead." He cupped her face in his hand so affectionately before he pressed his forehead to hers. "Ella, that wasn't your fault. You did nothing wrong." She smirked at him with a giggle. "Now, you see things my way." His eyes widened before he chuckled. "You didn't just make that up so I would see your side, did you?" She shook her head and he pulled her into his arms before laying down. "Go to sleep, honey. It's late." With that, she sweetly kissed his chest and closed her eyes, drifting off into La La Land. Chapter 12. Ella's eyes slowly fluttered as she felt the warm arms tighten around her and she smiled to herself. She thought once she fell asleep that he might leave, but he didn't. Jacob stayed with her all night and he was still holding her. Her heart fluttered as this sunk in and she looked up to his face. He looked so content, so flawless, in his sleep. No crease on his forehead or frown lines. He looked like a teenager when he was asleep. So perfect. She thought to herself before she peeled his hands off of her. She watched as, with a groggy groan, he turned onto his chest, half of his face pressed into the pillow. She silently giggled before she climbed out of bed. She grabbed his shirt from the floor, buttoning it up, before she emerged from her room. She made her way to the kitchen and started a pot of coffee before getting on cooking breakfast. She knew there was herself, Angela, and Jacob to feed, so she made a large stack of pancakes before moving on to the eggs. She shrieked when she felt warm arms wrap around her. A chuckle came from behind her before she relaxed. "Don't scare me like that, Jake." He kissed her cheek before moving down her neck. "Good morning, beautiful." She softly moaned as his hands massaged her waist. "Morning to you, too." He turned her face and gave her a passionate kiss before releasing it. "You are probably late for work." He chuckled before she went back to working on the eggs, scrambling them to perfection. "I only work half the day on Tuesday. I always take the morning off." She hummed in response. "How do you pull that off?" He snickered in her ear before hugging her against his chest. The boss approves. He teased and she laughed at his joke. Damn smartass. I bet he does. Jacob chuckled before he kissed her cheek. I've got at least 3 hours before I have to leave, so I'm all yours. She shivered slightly as he said this. All mine. That's nice. She thought to herself cheerfully as she heard Angela's bedroom door open and close, followed by laughter. I smell food. Angela called out, and Bella was surprised when both her and Embry rounded the corner. He actually stayed the night. That girl has some explaining to do once he leave. Bella waved as she finished the eggs and started on making bacon. Hey, bro. Embry patted Jacob on the shoulder and Bella was instantly confused, but she would wait to question Jake on what Embry just called him. Morning. Jake gave a simple reply as Embry went to the fridge and Bella gave Angela a knowing look, earning her a wink. I hope everyone is hungry. Angela snickered. You definitely are making enough to feed an army. Bella rolled her eyes and finished the bacon before getting out 4 plates. I'm hungry, so sue me. Bella stuck her tongue out at Angela, who returned the notion. Embry grabbed 4 coffee mugs from the cabinet. The 4 of them made their own plates and sat at the kitchen table, eating silently. Angela excused herself to her room and Jacob got up, giving Bella a big kiss which left her flushed. Be right back. She nodded as Embry helped her take the dishes to the sink. So Jake spent the night? Embry questioned. Bella didn't think he was a big talker, so it seemed strange that he was probing her. Wasn't the first time he has. She looked as Embry nodded, a kind smile on his face. He's different with you. It's nice to see him like that. Her eyes narrowed as she started washing dishes while Embry helped dry them. How so? She really wanted to know how his relationship with her differed from his past submissives. With you, he's how he used to be before stuff got complicated. He's never looked at his other girls like he looks at you. It's like his feelings are a lot deeper than he wants to let on. I've known Jake all of my life. Trust me when I say you aren't just one of his girls to him. She knew Embry was talking this way in case Angela was listening in. When he said girls, he meant Jacob's past subs, and this warmed her heart. One of Jake's best friends in the world, one of the few people who knew about Jacob's BDSM relationships, knew she was different to Jake and that she had a special place in his heart. Then, she recalled what he had said to her the night before. What are you doing to me? She was doing something to him unconsciously and she had no idea what it was. Thanks. I appreciate you saying that. She gave him a smile and Jake walked back into the kitchen. Embry backed away and Jacob moved over to Bella before surrounding her in his embrace. Hey, beautiful. She giggled before he kissed her. Her hands clutched to his chest as he continued to love her mouth with his. No fucking in my kitchen. Angela squeaked out a tease and Bella pulled out of the kiss before glaring at Angela. 1. We were just kissing, and 2. I am the only one who cooks or does dishes in this kitchen. Hell, I'm the only one who does any cleaning in the kitchen, so if I want to have sex with Jake in the kitchen, I will. Jake snickered as Angela rolled her eyes. Nope, I already marked it as my territory. Bella grimaced as she said this. You? When the hell did this happen? She questioned with disgust, and Angela giggled. Right after we moved in. Oh, and it was Edward, your ex, by the way. Angela teased and Bella rolled her eyes. That is just gross, Ang. Just run off to your class already. Angela snickered and waved as she dragged Embry out the door with her. Angela hooked up with one of your exes? Jacob questioned and Bella shrugged. She has actually hooked up with every guy I have dated after the breakup. I told her I didn't care if she did and it always seemed to be timed right with her breaking up with whatever guy she was dating. Jacob nodded as she watched his Adam's apple bob in his throat. She could see he was nervous. Do you stay in contact with any of your exes? Now, she knew why he was nervous. She giggled and shook her head. Well, none except for Edward. He pops by to hang out every once in a while, but that wasn't until we moved in here. He wanted to be friends again once he realized he was gay. Jake's jaw slacked before he threw his head back laughing. Are you saying you dated a gay guy? She nodded with a little snicker slipping from her lips. I guess I did. Now that I think about it, it was a little strange that he was the only guy I ever dated that never asked me for sex. Actually, that was my only breakup that wasn't sex-related. His eyebrow raised with suspicion. How were your breakups sex-related? Because me and all of my ex-boyfriends, except for Edward, broke up because they wanted sex from me and I said no. He frowned at this and she giggled as a thought registered. Why are you asking about guys I have dated anyways? He shrugged as if it didn't matter to him. Just curious, I guess. Angela did bring it up. He dragged her over to the couch and they turned on the TV. They searched around for something to watch before they settled on Cartoon Network. Seriously? You want to watch cartoons? He shrugged with a goofy smirk. You got a problem with cartoons? She shook her head. Nope. Gumball is actually pretty trippy. He wasn't sure what she meant until he looked at the episode they were watching where the blue cat and the orange fish were traveling through time to make it to class on time, and everything was changing with each new thing they did. He snickered as they ended up in a classroom with everyone having orange and blue heads. Okay, this is a little trippy. She threw her head back laughing before he kissed her forehead. Do you even watch TV very often? He shrugged a little. Not really, just when there is nothing else to do. I used to watch a lot of TV before my business got so popular. She nodded and leaned her head against his shoulder just as the doorbell rang. She quickly looked at the clock and saw it was only 10 in the morning. Who the heck could that be? He chuckled and both of them went to the door. Bella looked through the peephole and saw none other than Renee Dwyer standing on her doorstep. She quickly gasped and covered her mouth. What is it? Jake whispered as Bella backed away from the door. My erratic harebrained mother. Shit. She whispered quietly and his eyes widened, looking between her and the door. What is the matter? Bella looked down at herself, still in just his shirt, and motioned to her whole self. I look like I just got fucked 10 ways from Sunday. He snickered as she said and gripped her hair nervously. If my mom sees me like this, the 20 questions will be never ending, and I really am not looking forward to that happening. The last thing I want is a sex discussion with my mother. He nodded with a sweet smile. Give me back my shirt. I'll let her in while you get yourself cleaned up. You are amazing, Jacob Black. She cheered on the inside and gave him a thankful grin before pulling his shirt over her head. His eyes instantly scanned her naked body and she whistled for his attention. Eyes up here. He winked at her, took his shirt, and gave her a kiss. Oh, babe. She raced off to her room, grabbed some clothes, and headed to the bathroom. She hurried as she jumped in the shower. She quickly washed her whole body and her hair in less than 3 minutes before she jumped out. She towel dried her hair before brushing it out and slipping on the tank top and yoga pants she brought into the bathroom with her. Silently, she opened the door to hear her mother's laughter from the living room. She was worried about her mother meeting Jacob, but not for her approval. Renee was very observant. She knew once her mother saw Bella and Jacob interact that she would know Jacob wasn't just a friend. Bella slowly emerged to the living room and Renee was excited to see her daughter. She ran to her and hugged her with a shriek. Bella. Oh, God. I missed you. Bella giggled as she was released from the death grip of Renee. Hey mom. What are you doing here? She asked curiously as she stole a glance at Jake. He was smiling at her. She hoped Renee didn't notice that Jake's hair was disheveled, his shirt wrinkled, and that he was barefoot in the living room. Phil had a game in Seattle, so I decided to surprise you with a visit. Jacob told me all about your little mishap with the coffee. You have always been such a klutz. Jake, you are a fucking genius. Yeah, along with 2 left feet, I have 2 left hands, I guess. She wasn't sure exactly what he told her mother, so she kept it simple. Well, do you guys have plans? She asked as she looked at Jacob who shook his head. No, actually, I was just about to head out. I have to get to the office. He made an excuse to leave before smirking at Bella and grabbing his shoes from next to the door. Did you get all your stuff from my room before answering the door? She had been worried he would need an excuse to go to her room to gather his stuff, but he had thought all of this through. Well, that's a shame. It was very nice meeting you. He nodded politely. Likewise, Renee. He gave Bella a special smile that she was sure Renee would pick up on. Bye Bella. Her heart fluttered and she gave a small smile. Bye Jacob. She paused to say his name for a breath before he opened the door and left. Renee's jaw slack with an appreciative gleam in her eye. Oh, my God. That man is gorgeous. Bella nodded as they moved the couch. Bella wanted to avoid the subject of Jacob as much as possible. So, how's Phil doing? Has his team been winning this season? Renee shook her head while grabbing Bella's hand. You are not getting off that easy. I am not fooled for a second. I got a call yesterday from Charlie saying he met your boyfriend, which I had no idea you had, and now that handsome thing answers the door while you are so conveniently taking a shower from spilling coffee. Your grand didn't raise a fool, sweetie. She really wished her mother was a fool. She knew Renee was going to have a bunch of questions for her, and this was the only aspect of her mother that she didn't like. Yeah, so Jake's my boyfriend. Is there a problem with that? Renee snickered. No problem at all. How did you meet? Bella bit her lip from her nerves. I had a car accident and Jake was very helpful. And he asked me to be his sub, which I accepted. She continued in her head. The car accident? That's definitely a very odd way to meet a man. Renee teased her daughter, who blushed appropriately. How long ago was that? Bella rolled her eyes. Mom? She exclaimed with disbelief. Come on, honey. I want details. Oh, my God. Dad only saw me and Jake together by coincidence. We only went on our first date on Friday. Where he fucked my brains out over 7 times in 12 hours. Jake popped by the school to wish me luck and Dad just happened to do the same thing at the same time. It's not like I introduced Jake to dad with it all planned out. Not to mention, right after that, he fucked me in his car with his driver riding us around. Renee nodded, egging her daughter to continue. Thanks to dad, I had to meet Jake's family last night because not only did he call you, but he called Jake's mom, too. And I was forced to endure a short meeting with the biological mother from hell. Renee's eyes narrowed. Wait. Bella went silent as her mother interrupted her rant about the repercussions of Charlie blabbing to everyone about her relationship with Jacob Black. Charlie knows Jake's parents. Bella quickly realized that Renee didn't make the connection, and Charlie never told her exactly who their daughter had been dating. Well, yeah. You do, too. His name is Jacob Black. Ring any bells, Mom? She teased and Renee's jaw slacked in shocking disbelief. No way. You're dating Sarah's son. Bella bit her lip and nodded. Oh, my God. He looks so different from the last time I saw him. He has grown up from the 15-year-old boy he was when we moved away from Forks. Something suddenly occurred to Bella in that moment when Renee said this. Jake was 15 when we moved away. He was a sub at this point. Mom, did you or dad know a friend of Jake's family named Rose or something like that? Bella was curious about this woman. Was it possible someone knew or had any clue about what he had done to Bella's boyfriend? Oh, you mean Rosalie Hale, don't you? She remembered Jake had mentioned that the Hale twins were Rose's nephews, so maybe this was her maiden name. Yeah, I think so. She was Jake's mentor around the time you and dad got divorced. Renee smirked. Yes, I remember her. She was so helpful to the Blacks. From what I remember, Jacob was always at her house, learning from her and hanging out. I thought it was a little odd that a 15-year-old boy would be hanging around a 50-something-year-old woman, but times change, I guess. Times have definitely changed. Did anyone else think there was anything weird about that? Renee shrugged nonchalantly. Not really. Emmett, Rosalie's husband, was an old friend of Billy's, so they saw no harm in Jacob hanging out over there. Plus, he was friends with their nephews so he was already around there a lot. Bella nodded in understanding. He must have done a lot of learning over there since he is a mechanic now. He learned a lot more than auto mechanics, that's for sure. Wait, how did you know about the mechanic stuff? Bella inquired and Renee smirked. I talked to Sarah when you were in and she said he had just opened up his own shop and it was really successful. Bella bit her lip as she readied herself to reveal what Jacob's occupation really was now. He's not a mechanic anymore. He's actually a businessman now. Renee's eyes widened then Bella resumed. His shop, it got really popular so he expanded it. He's got a lot of shops up and down the coast so he's gotten into the business aspect more than being a mechanic. Renee smiled big. I knew that boy was destined for great things, but be fair warned. Bella raised an eyebrow to her mother, challenging her to continue. Men like that, God forbid an accident may happen, but if you were to get knocked up, Bella didn't let her continue. Stop right there, Mom. That's not going to happen. Honey, accidents happens. I'm just saying ambitious men tend to remove themselves from the picture if their girlfriend ends up pregnant. Bella scowled. She didn't need Renee to rub this in her face. She already knew Jake didn't want any children even though she did. She knew this is where they butted heads for an extended future. Mom, Jake and I already had that discussion. Jake doesn't want kids, period, so I already know where he stands with that. No need to rub it in, alright. Renee dropped it quickly as her daughter brought this part up. Bella groaned as Angela sat on the couch with her. She was completely frustrated with her mother for the things she said about Jake and the possibility of an accidental pregnancy popping up. I can't believe her. I don't know how my mom could be so insensitive. I know exactly why she was so interested in my relationship with Jake. Bella wasn't stupid. She knew Renee too well not to know why she was probing. Why do you think that is? Angela asked, caring like any friend would. Because my mother wants me to be a damn gold digger and she wants me to be after Jake's money. Angela gasped in horror. I'm not and I'm never going to be after his money. The least attractive thing I find about him is his money. I'd prefer it if he was dirt poor because then he couldn't buy these extravagant gifts that he does. Angela smirked proudly. I know that, honey, but what extravagant gifts do you mean? You mean the pen and laptop, right? Bella shook her head before holding up a set of Ford car keys. The latest one was a car that he isn't taking no for an answer. Angela's jaw dropped. Jacob Black bought you a car. Bella nodded with disgust across her face. It's a nice car, but I think it's too much. Angela nodded while patting her friend's back. Enough about me, my mom, and Jake. Did Embry really stay the night? Bella teased her friend who for the first time in a long time blushed, tugging her sweater around her frame. Yeah, so what? She tried to shrug it off, but Bella wasn't buying it. She knew Angela. Her number one rule was for a man to never stay the night with her. It was a strange way to create space and have her privacy even in a relationship. So, what? Ang, you have never let a guy spend the night with you. Tell me. Angela bit her lip before the biggest smile came across her face. Oh, my God. Bella exclaimed as the realization hit her. You fell for him. Angela nodded with her face flush. I have. Oh, my God. Embry is so great. He actually asked me on a date and we went out. It was so wonderful. He took me to this nice Italian restaurant downtown with this great. Angela continued her long tale to her friend of the beginning of her blossoming romance with Embry Call. Bella was very happy for her friend, but a part of her was envious. Though things were great between her and Jake, she knew it wouldn't last forever. She couldn't be his sub forever. He would never want to progress to actually being her boyfriend. Jake didn't want the same things as her out of life. She wanted to be a writer, have a family, a husband, and to live happily ever after like any other hopeless romantic. He just wanted a sub and to live from contract to contract. She could never have a family with him, marry him, or have her happily ever after with him. She cared about him and it was more romantic than she knew was healthy for her, but she wasn't sure she would want to have a forever with Jacob Black as he was, as a dominant and as his submissive. She wanted just him. He was very damaged from past daggers from all directions, but he wasn't the only one. She had her own demons, but they never led her down the path his had. So yeah, he stayed the night. Angela ended her tale, and Bella gave a happy smile to her friend, though it was fake. Bella, what's wrong? She shook her head before hugging her friend. Nothing important. I'm so happy for you. You deserve to be happy. He's different with you. Embry's words haunted her and disturbed what she knew was her reality. It made her hopeful for a future with her dom, but she shouldn't be hopeful. Bella, talk to me. Bella pulled back as tears filled her eyes. I really don't want to talk about it, she said honestly. She wanted to bottle it all up. She got the perfect out of the conversation when her phone went off. Excuse me. She picked up her phone and saw none other than Jake was calling her. Her heart sped up when she realized this and she put the phone to her ear. Hey. She spoke soft and kindly. Hey, beautiful. She blushed as he said this and Angela smirked at her friend before retreating to her room. What's up? She asked. She was used to texting with him. He usually didn't call her out of the blue unless it was something important. What are your plans for the night? She smiled to herself. Well, I don't know. I was thinking of going to my room to masturbate and neglect you of the opportunity to watch. She teased him with a devious smirk on her face. That would be breaking a rule. Well, you have already broken many of your rules like sleeping in a bed with someone else and letting me touch you. She swore she heard him growl through the phone and, God, that sound was so sexy. Well, I'd like to break another one. I want to take you out tonight. Would that be completely out of the question? She was ecstatic for such a request. He had said he didn't date, but not only had he added it in on the contract, he also was requesting to take her on one then. I'm not sure. When were you wanting to take me out? Then, there was a knock at her door and the phone clicked, notifying her to him hanging up. She raced to the door and opened it. She found Jake standing there in just jeans and a black flannel shirt, hair perfectly groomed. He held up a single white rose for her. Her breath caught as she saw him there, his smile as dazzling as ever. I haven't even given you my reply, Jake. He rolled his eyes before he pulled her through the threshold into his embrace. His lips met hers in an overly passionate kiss before he released her, leaving her breathless. I was about 95% sure you wouldn't turn down a proposal for us to go on a date. What do you say? Her breath caught in her throat before she gave him a chaste kiss. I'm definitely not dressed for a date. She was still wearing her yoga pants and tank top from earlier, but he didn't care. You are dressed perfectly for what I have planned. Come on. She smirked at him before kissing him again. Okay, let's go. He escorted her out the door and she found a motorcycle parked in front of her apartment. Wait, where is your car? She inquired and he chuckled. The bike is necessary for this journey. Trust me. She did trust him. She knew he would never put her in danger, so she straddled the bike behind him. He quickly handed her a helmet as he put on his. She latched hers and before she knew it they were off, headed on their first date as dom and sub. Chapter 12. Bella's eyes slowly fluttered as she felt the warm arms tighten around her and she smiled to herself. She thought once she fell asleep that he might leave, but he didn't. Jacob stayed with her all night and he was still holding her. Her heart fluttered as this sunk in and she looked up to his face. He looked so content, so flawless, in his sleep. No crease on his forehead or frown lines. He looked like a teenager when he was asleep. So perfect. She thought to herself before she peeled his hands off of her. She watched as, with a groggy groan, he turned onto his chest, half of his face pressed into the pillow. She silently giggled before she climbed out of bed. She grabbed his shirt from the floor, buttoning it up before she emerged from her room. She made her way to the kitchen and started a pot of coffee before getting on cooking breakfast. She knew there was herself, Angela and Jacob to feed, so she made a large stack of pancakes before moving on to the eggs. She shrieked when she felt warm arms wrap around her. A chuckle came from behind her before she relaxed. "Don't scare me like that, Jake." He kissed her cheek before moving down her neck. "Good morning, beautiful." She softly moaned as his hands massaged her waist. "Morning to you, too." He turned her face and gave her a passionate kiss before releasing it. "You are probably late for work." He chuckled before she went back to working on the eggs, scrambling them to perfection. "I only work half the day on Tuesday. I always take the morning off." She hummed in response. "How do you pull that off?" He snickered in her ear before hugging her against his chest. "The boss approves." He teased and she laughed at his joke. "Damn smartass." "I bet he does." Jacob chuckled before he kissed her cheek. "I've got at least 3 hours before I have to leave, so I'm all yours." She shivered slightly as he said this. "All mine." "That's nice." She thought to herself cheerfully as she heard Angela's bedroom door open and close, followed by laughter. "I smell food." Angela called out and Bella was surprised when both her and Embry rounded the corner. "He actually stayed the night. That girl has some explaining to do once he leave." Bella waved as she finished the eggs and started on making bacon. "Hey, bro." Embry patted Jacob on the shoulder and Bella was instantly confused, but she would wait to question Jake on what Embry just called him. "Morning." Jake gave a simple reply as Embry went to the fridge and Bella gave Angela a knowing look, earning her a wink. "I hope everyone is hungry." Angela snickered. "You definitely are making enough to feed an army." Bella rolled her eyes and finished the bacon before getting out 4 plates. "I'm hungry, so sue me." Bella stuck her tongue out at Angela, who returned the notion. Embry grabbed 4 coffee mugs from the cabinet. The 4 of them made their own plates and sat at the kitchen table, eating silently. Angela excused herself to her room and Jacob got up, giving Bella a big kiss which left her flushed. "Be right back." She nodded as Embry helped her take the dishes to the sink. "So Jake spent the night?" Embry questioned. Bella didn't think he was a big talker, so it seemed strange that he was probing her. "Wasn't the first time he has." She looked as Embry nodded, a kind smile on his face. "He's different with you. It's nice to see him like that." Her eyes narrowed as she started washing dishes while Embry helped dry them. "How so?" She really wanted to know how his relationship with her differed from his past submissives. "With you, he's how he used to be before stuff got complicated. He's never looked at his other girls like he looks at you. It's like his feelings are a lot deeper than he wants to let on. I've known Jake all of my life. Trust me when I say you aren't just one of his girls to him." She knew Embry was talking this way in case Angela was listening in. When he said girls, he meant Jacob's past subs, and this warmed her heart. One of Jake's best friends in the world, one of the few people who knew about Jacob's BDSM relationships, knew she was different to Jake and that she had a special place in his heart. Then, she recalled what he had said to her the night before. "What are you doing to me?" She was doing something to him unconsciously and she had no idea what it was. "Thanks. I appreciate you saying that." She gave him a smile and Jake walked back into the kitchen. Embry backed away and Jacob moved over to Bella before surrounding her in his embrace. "Hey, beautiful." She giggled before he kissed her. Her hands clutched to his chest as he continued to love her mouth with his. "No fucking in my kitchen." Angela squeaked out a tease and Bella pulled out of the kiss before glaring at Angela. 1. We were just kissing, and 2. I am the only one who cooks or does dishes in this kitchen. Hell, I'm the only one who does any cleaning in the kitchen, so if I want to have sex with Jake in the kitchen, I will. Jake snickered as Angela rolled her eyes. "Nope, I already marked it as my territory." Bella grimaced as she said this. "You? When the hell did this happen?" She questioned with disgust and Angela giggled. "Right after we moved in." "Oh, and it was Edward, your ex, by the way." Angela teased and Bella rolled her eyes. "That is just gross, Ang. Just run off to your class already." Angela snickered and waved as she dragged Embry out the door with her. "Angela hooked up with one of your exes?" Jacob questioned and Bella shrugged. "She has actually hooked up with every guy I have dated after the breakup. I told her I didn't care if she did and it always seemed to be timed right with her breaking up with whatever guy she was dating." Jacob nodded as she watched his Adam's apple bob in his throat. She could see he was nervous. "Do you stay in contact with any of your exes?" Now, she knew why he was nervous. She giggled and shook her head. "Well, none except for Edward. He pops by to hang out every once in a while, but that wasn't until we moved in here. He wanted to be friends again once he realized he was gay." Jake's jaw slacked before he threw his head back laughing. "Are you saying you dated a gay guy?" She nodded with a little snicker slipping from her lips. "I guess I did. Now that I think about it, it was a little strange that he was the only guy I ever dated that never asked me for sex. Actually, that was my only breakup that wasn't sex related." His eyebrow raised with suspicion. "How were your breakups sex related?" Because me and all of my ex-boyfriends, except for Edward, broke up because they wanted sex from me and I said no. He frowned at this and she giggled as a thought registered. Why are you asking about guys I have dated anyways? He shrugged as if it didn't matter to him. Just curious, I guess. Angela did bring it up. He dragged her over to the couch and they turned on the TV. They searched around for something to watch before they settled on Cartoon Network. Seriously? You want to watch cartoons? He shrugged with a goofy smirk. You got a problem with cartoons? She shook her head. Nope. Gumball is actually pretty trippy. He wasn't sure what she meant until he looked at the episode they were watching where the blue cat and the orange fish were traveling through time to make it to class on time and everything was changing with each new thing they did. He snickered as they ended up in a classroom with everyone having orange and blue heads. Okay, this is a little trippy. She threw her head back laughing before he kissed her forehead. Do you even watch TV very often? He shrugged a little. Not really, just when there is nothing else to do. I used to watch a lot of TV before my business got so popular. She nodded and leaned her head against his shoulder just as the doorbell rang. She quickly looked at the clock and saw it was only 10 in the morning. Who the heck could that be? He chuckled and both of them went to the door. Bella looked through the peephole and saw none other than Renee Dwyer standing on her doorstep. She quickly gasped and covered her mouth. What is it? Jake whispered as Bella backed away from the door. My erratic harebrained mother. Shit. She whispered quietly and his eyes widened, looking between her and the door. What is the matter? Bella looked down at herself, still in just his shirt, and motioned to her whole self. I look like I just got fucked 10 ways from Sunday. He snickered as she said and gripped her hair nervously. If my mom sees me like this, the 20 questions will be never ending, and I really am not looking forward to that happening. The last thing I want is a sex discussion with my mother. He nodded with a sweet smile. Give me back my shirt. I'll let her in while you get yourself cleaned up. You are amazing, Jacob Black. She cheered on the inside and gave him a thankful grin before pulling his shirt over her head. His eyes instantly scanned her naked body and she whistled for his attention. Eyes up here. He winked at her, took his shirt and gave her a kiss. Oh, babe. She raced off to her room, grabbed some clothes and headed to the bathroom. She hurried as she jumped in the shower. She quickly washed her whole body and her hair in less than 3 minutes before she jumped out. She towel dried her hair before brushing it out and slipping on the tank top and yoga pants she brought into the bathroom with her. Silently, she opened the door to hear her mother's laughter from the living room. She was worried about her mother meeting Jacob, but not for her approval. Renee was very observant. She knew once her mother saw Bella and Jacob interact that she would know Jacob wasn't just a friend. Bella slowly emerged to the living room and Renee was excited to see her daughter. She ran to her and hugged her with a shriek. Bella. Oh, God. I missed you. Bella giggled as she was released from the death grip of Renee. Hey mom. What are you doing here? She asked curiously as she stole a glance at Jake. He was smiling at her. She hoped Renee didn't notice that Jake's hair was disheveled, his shirt wrinkled, and that he was barefoot in the living room. Phil had a game in Seattle, so I decided to surprise you with a visit. Jacob told me all about your little mishap with the coffee. You have always been such a klutz. Jake, you are a fucking genius. Yeah, along with 2 left feet, I have 2 left hands, I guess. She wasn't sure exactly what he told her mother, so she kept it simple. Well, do you guys have plans? She asked as she looked at Jacob who shook his head. No, actually, I was just about to head out. I have to get to the office. He made an excuse to leave before smirking at Bella and grabbing his shoes from next to the door. Did you get all your stuff from my room before answering the door? She had been worried he would need an excuse to go to her room to gather his stuff, but he had thought all of this through. Well, that's a shame. It was very nice meeting you. He nodded politely. Likewise, Renee. He gave Bella a special smile that she was sure Renee would pick up on. Bye Bella. Her heart fluttered and she gave a small smile. Bye Jacob. She paused to say his name for a breath before he opened the door and left. Renee's jaw slacked with an appreciative gleam in her eye. Oh, my God. That man is gorgeous. Bella nodded as they moved the couch. Bella wanted to avoid the subject of Jacob as much as possible. So, how is Phil doing? Has his team been winning this season? Renee shook her head while grabbing Bella's hand. You are not getting off that easy. I am not fooled for a second. 1. I got a call yesterday from Charlie saying he met your boyfriend, which I had no idea you had, and now that handsome thing answers the door while you are so conveniently taking a shower from spilling coffee. Your gran didn't raise a fool, sweetie. She really wished her mother was a fool. She knew Renee was going to have a bunch of questions for her, and this was the only aspect of her mother that she didn't like. Yeah, so Jake's my boyfriend. Is there a problem with that? Renee snickered. No problem at all. How did you meet? Bella bit her lip from her nerves. I had a car accident and Jake was very helpful. And he asked me to be his sub, which I accepted. She continued in her head. The car accident? That's definitely a very odd way to meet a man. Renee teased her daughter, who blushed appropriately. How long ago was that? Bella rolled her eyes. Mom? She exclaimed with disbelief. Come on, honey. I want details. Oh, my God. Dad only saw me and Jake together by coincidence. We only went on our first date on Friday. Where he fucked my brains out over 7 times in 12 hours. Jake popped by the school to wish me luck and Dad just happened to do the same thing at the same time. It's not like I introduced Jake to Dad with it all planned out. Not to mention, right after that, he fucked me in his car with his driver riding us around. Renee nodded, egging her daughter to continue. Thanks to Dad, I had to meet Jake's family last night because not only did he call you, but he called Jake's mom, too. And I was forced to endure a short meeting with a biological mother from hell. Renee's eyes narrowed. Wait. Bella went silent as her mother interrupted her rant about the repercussions of Charlie blabbing to everyone about her relationship with Jacob Black. Charlie knows Jake's parents. Bella quickly realized that Renee didn't make the connection and Charlie never told her exactly who their daughter had been dating. Well, yeah. You do, too. His name is Jacob Black. Ring any bells, Mom? She teased and Renee's jaw slacked in shocking disbelief. No way. You're dating Sarah's son. Bella bit her lip and nodded. Oh, my God. He looks so different from the last time I saw him. He has grown up from the 15-year-old boy he was when we moved away from Forks. Something suddenly occurred to Bella in that moment when Renee said this. Jake was 15 when we moved away. He was a sub at this point. Mom, did you or Dad know a friend of Jake's family named Rose or something like that? Bella was curious about this woman. Was it possible someone knew or had any clue about what he had done to Bella's boyfriend? Oh, you mean Rosalie Hale, don't you? She remembered Jake had mentioned that the Hale twins were Rose's nephews, so maybe this was her maiden name. Yeah, I think so. She was Jake's mentor around the time you and Dad got divorced. Renee smirked. Yes, I remember her. She was so helpful to the Blacks. From what I remember, Jacob was always at her house, learning from her and hanging out. I thought it was a little odd that a 15-year-old boy would be hanging around a 50-something-year-old woman, but times change, I guess. Times have definitely changed. Did anyone else think there was anything weird about that? Renee shrugged nonchalantly. Not really. Emmett, Rosalie's husband, was an old friend of Billy's, so they saw no harm in Jacob hanging out over there. Plus, he was friends with their nephews, so he was already around there a lot. Bella nodded in understanding. He must have done a lot of learning over there since he is a mechanic now. He learned a lot more than auto mechanics, that's for sure. Wait, how did you know about the mechanic stuff? Bella inquired and Renee smirked. I talked to Sarah when you were it in and she said he had just opened up his own shop and it was really successful. Bella bit her lip as she readied herself to reveal what Jacob's occupation really was now. He's not a mechanic anymore. He's actually a businessman now. Renee's eyes widened, then Bella resumed. His shop, it got really popular so he expanded it. He's got a lot of shops up and down the coast, so he's gotten into the business aspect more than being a mechanic. Renee smiled big. I knew that boy was destined for great things, but be fair warned. Bella raised an eyebrow to her mother, challenging her to continue. Men like that, God forbid an accident may happen, but if you were to get knocked up, Bella didn't let her continue. Stop right there, Mom. That's not going to happen. Honey, accidents happens. I'm just saying ambitious men tend to remove themselves from the picture if their girlfriend ends up pregnant. Bella scowled. She didn't need Renee to rub this in her face. She already knew Jake didn't want any children even though she did. She knew this is where they butted heads for an extended future. Mom, Jake and I already had that discussion. Jake doesn't want kids, period, so I already know where he stands with that. No need to rub it in, alright. Renee dropped it quickly as her daughter brought this part up. Bella groaned as Angela sat on the couch with her. She was completely frustrated with her mother for the things she said about Jake and the possibility of an accidental pregnancy popping up. I can't believe her. I don't know how my mom could be so insensitive. I know exactly why she was so interested in my relationship with Jake. Bella wasn't stupid. She knew Renee too well not to know why she was probing. Why do you think that is? Angela asked, caring like any friend would. Because my mother wants me to be a damn gold digger and she wants me to be after Jake's money. Angela gasped in horror. I'm not and I'm never going to be after his money. The least attractive thing I find about him is his money. I'd prefer it if he was dirt poor because then he couldn't buy these extravagant gifts that he does. Angela smirked proudly. I know that, honey, but what extravagant gifts do you mean? You mean the pen and laptop, right? Bella shook her head before holding up the set of Ford car keys. The latest one was a car that he isn't taking no for an answer. Angela's jaw dropped. Jacob Black bought you a car. Bella nodded with disgust across her face. It's a nice car, but I think it's too much. Angela nodded while patting her friend's back. Enough about me, my mom, and Jake. Did Embry really stay the night? Bella teased her friend, who for the first time in a long time blushed, tugging her sweater around her frame. Yeah, so what? She tried to shrug it off, but Bella wasn't buying it. She knew Angela. Her number one rule was for a man to never stay the night with her. It was a strange way to create space and have her privacy even in a relationship. So, what? Ang, you have never let a guy spend the night with you. Tell me. Angela bit her lip before the biggest smile came across her face. Oh, my God. Bella exclaimed as the realization hit her. You fell for him. Angela nodded with her face flush. I have. Oh, my God. Embry is so great. He actually asked me on a date and we went out. It was so wonderful. He took me to this nice Italian restaurant downtown with this great. Angela continued her long tale to her friend of the beginning of her blossoming romance with Embry Call. Bella was very happy for her friend, but a part of her was envious. Though things were great between her and Jake, she knew it wouldn't last forever. She couldn't be his sub forever. He would never want to progress to actually being her boyfriend. Jake didn't want the same things as her out of life. She wanted to be a writer, have a family, a husband, and to live happily ever after like any other hopeless romantic. He just wanted a sub and to live from contract to contract. She could never have a family with him, marry him, or have her happily ever after with him. She cared about him and it was more romantic than she knew was healthy for her, but she wasn't sure she would want to have a forever with Jacob Black as he was, as a dominant and as his submissive. She wanted just him. He was very damaged from past daggers from all directions, but he wasn't the only one. She had her own demons, but they never led her down the path his had. So yeah, he stayed the night. Angela ended her tale, and Bella gave a happy smile to her friend, though it was fake. Bella, what's wrong? She shook her head before hugging her friend. Nothing important. I'm so happy for you. You deserve to be happy. He's different with you. Embry's words haunted her and disturbed what she knew was her reality. It made her hopeful for a future with her dom, but she shouldn't be hopeful. Bella, talk to me. Bella pulled back as tears filled her eyes. I really don't want to talk about it, she said honestly. She wanted to bottle it all up. She got the perfect out of the conversation when her phone went off. Excuse me. She picked up her phone and saw none other than Jake was calling her. Her heart sped up when she realized this and she put the phone to her ear. Hey. She spoke soft and kindly. Hey, beautiful. She blushed as he said this and Angela smirked at her friend before retreating to her room. What's up? She asked. She was used to texting with him. He usually didn't call her out of the blue unless it was something important. What are your plans for the night? She smiled to herself. Well, I don't know. I was thinking of going to my room to masturbate and neglect you of the opportunity to watch. She teased him with a devious smirk on her face. That would be breaking a rule. Well, you have already broken many of your rules like sleeping in a bed with someone else and letting me touch you. She swore she heard him growl through the phone and, God, that sound was so sexy. Well, I'd like to break another one. I want to take you out tonight. Would that be completely out of the question? She was ecstatic for such a request. He had said he didn't date, but not only had he added it in on the contract, he also was requesting to take her on one then. I'm not sure. When were you wanting to take me out? Then, there was a knock at her door and the phone clicked, notifying her to him hanging up. She raced to the door and opened it. She found Jake standing there in just jeans and a black flannel shirt, hair perfectly groomed. He held up a single white rose for her. Her breath caught as she saw him there, his smile as dazzling as ever. I haven't even given you my reply, Jake. He rolled his eyes before he pulled her through the threshold into his embrace. His lips met hers in an overly passionate kiss before he released her, leaving her breathless. I was about 95% sure you wouldn't turn down a proposal for us to go on a date. What do you say? Her breath caught in her throat before she gave him a chaste kiss. I'm definitely not dressed for a date. She was still wearing her yoga pants and tank top from earlier, but he didn't care. You are dressed perfectly for what I have planned. Come on. She smirked at him before kissing him again. Okay, let's go. He escorted her out the door and she found a motorcycle parked in front of her apartment. Wait, where is your car? She inquired and he chuckled. The bike is necessary for this journey. Trust me. She did trust him. She knew he would never put her in danger, so she straddled the bike behind him. He quickly handed her a helmet as he put on his. She latched hers and before she knew it they were off, headed on their first date as dom and sub. Bella strolled hand in hand with Jacob down the beach. There was a warm breeze, the sun was shining, and the waves were running wild just out from the coastline. I had forgotten how beautiful it is here. She giggled to herself and he draped his arm over her shoulder before kissing her temple sweetly. You have been here every weekend for the past 2 months, Bells. He had found he really liked this nickname and she liked the way it sounded rolling off his tongue, so she never corrected him on it. I know. It's been a long time since there has been this nice of a day. There isn't a cloud in sight. He nodded as they caught sight of Rebecca and Solomon setting things up for their day at the beach. Rebecca had run into Bella at her work and asked her to join them for this fun-filled day. Rebecca really wanted to get to know her brother's new girlfriend and this would be the perfect opportunity. Suddenly, something came to mind that she wanted to ask Jacob about. Every time Jake came to her apartment and Embry was there, he was constantly calling him bro and it seemed to make him nervous. Why does Embry constantly call you bro? He doesn't do it to any of his other friends I have met. She noticed his expression sour and she regretted bringing up the topic instantly. Because he is my brother. Her eyes widened as he said this. From Rachel. Jacob shook his head quickly. Then, how? You said she had no idea who your father is. He scoffed, amused by her statement. I never said she had no idea. I said she wasn't sure, but she does have an idea of the most possible. This quickly diverted her attention from Embry to the topic of Jacob's genetics. Have you met him? She inquired and he nodded. More times than I would like. He enjoys getting on my nerves. She looked to him with confusion. Who is it? Paul. Shock filled Bella to her core and anxiety filled her. Paul as in Rachel's boyfriend Paul. He nodded. They were always messing around in high school. They have dated off and on since he hit puberty. This just didn't make sense. But, that can't be. You look nothing like him. He snickered before kissing her cheek. Thanks, baby. That wasn't a compliment or an insult. It's the truth. Granted, you do look identical to Billy. Another chuckle left his lips as she strolled pressed close to his side. Does Paul know that Rachel thinks that? Jacob quickly shook his head. He didn't even know Rachel was pregnant. No one did except Rebecca, Mom, and Dad. She wanted to push about this, but she knew it wouldn't do any good. It would only upset both of them. Okay, so how is Embry your brother if not by Rachel? Jacob took a deep breath before stopping them before they got too close to Rebecca and her husband. He wanted to keep this conversation private. Embry and I have been friends our whole lives. His mother was a drunk and never took care of him, so he was always hanging out with me and my family. Bella nodded for him to continue. It shocked everyone when, right after he turned 18, he announced that he was going to marry Rebecca. Bella gasped instantly. Wait, Embry and Rebecca, your sister? He nodded. Yup. They were married for a couple years. Embry's mom wasn't happy about it and was always starting drama about him marrying Rebecca. She called her a cougar, cradle robber, all sorts of stuff. Bella thought this was just plain awful. Is that why they aren't together anymore? Jacob shook his head, averting her gaze. Rebecca got pregnant after a couple years of them being married and had a little girl. Well, where is she? She did everything she was supposed to in order to have a healthy baby, but it wasn't good enough. Her daughter was born horribly disfigured, her body started shutting down as soon as she was born and she died before she was even a day old. Bella's heart clenched at this. That's just horrible. Did they ever find out what went wrong? He nodded, gulping nervously. They had an autopsy performed so they could try to prevent the same thing happening with their future kids. Bella nodded, egging him on. And? Birth defects due to incestual genealogy. This just confused her. What? What do you mean incestual genealogy? That means Rebecca and Embry have too close of a genetic link to have any healthy children, ever. She still wasn't sure what this meant. In other words, they are related, closely related. Her eyes widened as he said this. How? Jacob took in a sharp breath before he finally looked to her. Turns out my dad wasn't completely faithful to my mom, and Embry was the result of that. Oh, my God. Bella was in complete shock. How could that possibly happen? How could they not know or no one say anything? Rebecca married her own brother? Jacob nodded. Half-brother, but yes. That's why Embry's mom was so against them being together because she knew and didn't want to say anything. Bella felt sorrow and heartache fill her for those two poor people. They must have been terribly traumatized when they realized what was really wrong with their baby. What happened after that? She asked quietly. They divorced and haven't spoken to each other since. Can't really blame them after what happened. They were both pretty disgusted when they found out that they were siblings. I can't mention Embry around Rebecca or she starts crying. If I bring up the rest of my family around Embry, he becomes a recluse for a few days. Neither of them have really dealt with it. Bella nodded as she sighed. So Embry calls you bro because your dad is his father. Jacob nodded in response before chuckling. Every family has their dark secrets that no one knows about. What about yours? He turned the subject back on her as they continued their stroll. My uncle is a serial killer. she said with a straight face and he gasped. Seriously? Her poker face broke and she laughed aloud. Gotcha. He pulled her close and inclined her chin to look upon her face. You're such a jokester, Bella. Her breath caught as he kissed her, so passionately. This kiss nearly knocked her off her feet. Jake. She whimpered into his mouth just as he released the kiss, pressing his forehead to hers. I really want to drag you back to the house and make you mine again. Her gut coiled as her eyes drifted closed. It was hard enough to get you out of bed. We did promise your sister. He nodded before taking her hand again. Let's go then. Bella, Jacob, Rebecca and Solomon were laughing, having a great time together as they ate the hot dog Solomon had grilled for this occasion. You must have really loved it in Hawaii. Bella commented to Rebecca from her Hawaiian-style bikini she wore and Rebecca chortled from her comment. I actually bought this in Forks, believe it or not. Bella nodded. You're right. I don't believe it. Both men joined in on the laughter. Solomon was done eating and started messing around with his ukulele. What's that tune? It sounds familiar. Bella questioned as she finished her hot dog and Solomon chuckled. I doubt you have heard it before. It's from the island of Kauai in my hometown of Kala'a. An older woman in my village would sit in front of her house and play it for the children walking home from school, wishing them a safe journey. Bella was amazed by this. She loved to hear old Hawaiian stories, even of such things as these. The way people talked about them, it always captivated her. Kala'a. That's the town about 15 miles from Waimea, right? Bella questioned then sipped at her cool bottle of water. Solomon looked at her dumbfounded. Well, yes. How do you know that? She started to speak in his native tongue and it shocked Solomon. Rebecca and Jacob were utterly befuddled as they watched the two go into an in-depth conversation about his homeland and her summers spent in a town only a few miles away. At the end of the private talk, Solomon laughed aloud before embracing Bella in a big hug. Wow. She is definitely a keeper, Jacob. Bella snickered to herself as Jacob looked to her, perplexed by what he had just witnessed. What was all that? He inquired and Bella shyly smiled. When I lived with my mom, I spent every summer in Waimea, Kauai. I'm fluent in Solomon's native tongue. She gave a quick explanation and Jacob smirked as Rebecca's eyes widened. Wow. I lived there for years and I didn't learn the language. Solomon rolled his eyes at his wife. Babe, you never even gave an effort which just made it easy for everyone to talk about you right in front of you. Bella snickered as Jacob's arm moved around her waist. Were you bad-mouthing me, Finau? Rebecca's eyes narrowed in warning and Bella was enjoying this little show between spouses. She always thought this kind of banter between partners was cute and entertaining. Me? Never. My mother. Always. Solomon teased her and Bella rolled her eyes. She gazed up at Jake who smirked at her before sweetly kissing her forehead. She loved how sweet and affectionate he was in public. It was more than when they were alone. It wasn't that he was putting on a show to make people think they were boyfriend and girlfriend, but that he wanted everyone to know that she was his and he was hers. It was very romantic notion to her, especially for a man who claimed to not do romance. Aw, you two are so cute. Rebecca gushed which made Bella blush. Bella could tell Solomon was a little embarrassed to be present for their affectionate display. Hey Bella. She nodded to Solomon who continued. You wouldn't happen to surf, would you? Bella laughed. This was a very ridiculous question to ask. To her, at the very least. I did spend 10 summers in Hawaii. I would had to be a recluse to not know how to surf. Plus, my stepdad is a big sports buff which includes surfing, baseball, basketball, football, soccer, and golf. She rolled her eyes at the average male's affinity to sports. She thought it was only fun to play and not fun to watch. That makes basically you and Solomon the only ones in the family that can. Rebecca stated and Bella's heart accelerated at Jacob's sister, saying she was in the family just as much as Solomon. It made her feel welcome and accepted as Jacob's significant other. Want to catch some choice waves? Solomon invited Bella to join him and her face lit up like a Christmas tree. Definitely. Bella noticed that Solomon had actually brought 2 surfboards with him and she was grateful. She wished she had thought to bring her surfboard with her, but she had been so excited to get to spend some time with Jacob that it slipped her mind that they would be at the beach. Jacob placed a sweet kiss on her cheek before she stood up and pulled her sundress over her head, revealing her black bikini. Rebecca's jaw slacked as she saw the movie star-worthy body Bella had. Jesus fuck Bella. Do you ever eat? Rebecca exclaimed in shock and Jacob snickered, amused by the statement. A minimum of 3 square meals a day. She flashed a big grin from the envious look on Rebecca's face. You must work out like crazy to be that fit. Bella flushed from the compliment. Nope. Just a high metabolism is all. Bella was embarrassed by the way Rebecca was gawking her figure. The only nice part about it was Jacob was staring at her as well. It isn't anything you haven't seen. She thought to herself while handing him her sundress, fixing her bikini bottoms. My body hasn't looked like that since high school. Bella giggled. Well, thank you for the compliment. She got a sexy smirk on her face as she glanced at Jacob. He definitely enjoys it. She teased and Rebecca's jaw slacked as Jacob nodded. Please, don't give me the mental image of you and my brother going at it. Rebecca grimaced. Bella wasn't referring just to sex. Jacob was constantly telling her how beautiful she was, just as she was. She never saw herself as glamorous or sexy, but Jacob made her feel beautiful even when he wasn't complimenting her and they were just hanging out. Let's go, Bella. Solomon handed her a board as they ran out to the surf. Jacob was enjoying watching Bella surf. She was very talented and kept up with Solomon with ease. He liked seeing her body twist to move the board along the waves without falling off the board. Wow. She's really good. Rebecca complimented her talent and Jacob nodded. Yeah, she is. It warmed Rebecca's heart to see Jacob look so happy, so full of life. It reminded her of his early teens when he was so carefree, goofy, and constantly happy. She loved to see that his girlfriend had brought this out in him. It was as if Bella had brought him back to life after being dead on the inside for so long. It was like she loved the life back into him. She had seen a hint of it when she first saw Bella and Jacob together, but she wasn't sure if it was a show until just then. It was obvious that Jacob was in love just as much as it was that Bella reciprocated those feelings. The looks they had been exchanging were so endearing and heartfelt. There was no way they could be miscommunicated. They weren't lustful, but adoring. Rebecca thought Jacob and Bella made the perfect couple. Jacob watched as Bella slipped on the board and fell into the water. He instantly panicked, but it left as soon as she resurfaced, laughing happily. She slid her body back onto the board, straddling it. Her body bobbed with the waves and she laughed to herself. She's a big girl, Jake. She'll be fine. Rebecca could see the fear on her brother's face. I know. Jacob hadn't been a big talker in the family for years, so she didn't expect a big reply from him. He used to be talkative as a kid and even through his teenage years, but once he moved out of the family house, he just shut down, and Rebecca wasn't sure why. Jacob watched as Solomon and Bella fist bumped while laughing wholeheartedly. Well, I approve. Rebecca suddenly said, which caught her brother's attention. His eyes snapped to her and he smirked. Thanks. She nodded with a giggle. The two of you seem pretty attached. He softly chuckled as he watched Bella get back to surfing. Yeah, I guess you could say that. Rebecca rolled her eyes at Jake's short replies. Come on. Don't be like that. His eyes narrowed with confusion at this rebuttal. Be like what? All secretive. It's very obvious what's going on between the two of you. He stiffened as she said this. She couldn't have possibly figured out his sexual tastes, could she? What are you talking about? Her eyes rolled again. You're different with her. You're not all closed off like you usually are when she's around. Jacob wasn't going to deny that. She had an effect on him and he liked the difference except when his control was slipping. The two of you are like a magnet and a paperclip. You stick close together. It's nice to see you be like that with someone. It's like you move together in sync with each other. I'm glad she makes you happy, Jake. You deserve to be happy. He didn't agree with her on him deserving happiness, but he didn't correct her. He just nodded before looking back at Bella's skill in on the water. If I were you, I would make sure that girl knows exactly how you feel about her. You wouldn't want her to feel unloved. That's never good for a relationship. He looked to Rebecca with narrowed eyes. He wasn't sure what she meant by this piece of advice. How I feel about her? What do you mean? He inquired and she rolled her eyes again. Oh, come on, Jake. She exclaimed with a laugh. The whole world can't see it. Hell, even a blind man could see it. You're in love with her. He couldn't believe that Rebecca was trying to have this conversation with him. He was definitely not in love with Bella. Sure, he loved being with Bella. She made him feel free and she brought out a part of him that he thought had died a long time ago. He knew he wasn't in love with her, but yet, he had never been in love before. Cut it out, Becca. He sneered before rolling his eyes. Are you seriously trying to deny it? If you are, your eyes are contradicting what you are saying. The way you have been looking at her this whole time has been the way someone looks at the person they love. It's freeing, having no control over your own emotions and having this other person whose feelings reflect your own. It's not something to be ashamed, but something to embrace. What she was saying resonated in his heart and it sent his heart into a panic. No, I'm not in love with her. I can't be. He screamed in his head before taking a deep breath. Sorry, but I'm gonna head home. I don't feel so hot right now. Rebecca nodded with a small smile. Okay. Just think about what I said. I'll tell Bella that you went home. She'll probably head that way once she gets out of the water. He didn't want to think about that. He didn't want to think about anything. He needed to calm himself down before making any rash decisions about anything. He jogged home before he locked himself in his house. He leaned back against his front door and slid down, sitting on the cool linoleum. He was in panic mode. His heart was racing, his lungs throbbing, and his mind swirling. This can't be happening. He thought to himself as, for the first time in a very long time, tears filled his eyes and they spilled down his face. Bella laughed with Solomon as they fist bumped while floating on their surfboards. "You definitely have some talent there." Solomon complimented her and she gave a big smile. "Thanks. It's been a long time since I've been able to surf. I have my own board, but I didn't think to bring it with me today." Solomon laughed. "You probably shocked the hell out of your boyfriend with that." She rolled her eyes before looking to the beach, seeing Rebecca sitting all by herself. Bella's eyes scanned the beach, but Jacob was nowhere in sight. Speaking of which, where did he go? Solomon looked around and didn't see him either. "I don't know. That's weird. He was there a minute ago." Bella nodded to Solomon's analysis. "I'm gonna find out. He doesn't usually run off like that." Both of them paddled to the shore and walked out of the water with their boards in hand. They tossed them onto the sand before approaching Rebecca. "Hey, where'd Jake go?" Bella inquired. "He said he wasn't feeling well so he went home." This made Bella feel bad. She was having so much fun surfing with Solomon. All the while, Jake was feeling sick. "Okay. I should probably go check on him." Rebecca gave Bella a warm hug which got a smile from her. "Sorry to cut this short. I had a lot of fun. We should do this again sometime. Enjoy the rest of your weekend." Bella nodded before releasing the hug. "Definitely." Bella gave Solomon a hug before grabbing her sundress, throwing it on over her swimsuit. Slipping on her sandals, Bella started her trek back to Jacob's forest mansion. She whistled to herself and bounced her head to the tune as she approached the big house. The helicopter and all of Jacob's cars were still there, so she knew he didn't leave. Slowly, she walked up the steps of the porch before grabbing the front door handle. She turned it, but it was locked. This stumped her. Jacob didn't lock his door, ever. Something was wrong and she could feel it in her gut. "Jake." She called out his name and heard no movement. "Jacob, open the door." She still heard no movement. "Go away." She heard his voice, but it was low and defeated. "What is wrong?" "Jake, let me in. Rebecca said you weren't feeling well so I came back to make sure you're okay." His reply wasn't what she was expecting. It hurt her heart to its very core. "I'm fine. Just go away. I release you from the contract. Just go home, already." Her heart clenched as he said this, and tears filled her eyes. "What? Jake, what's going on?" she asked, but it irked her that he wouldn't open the door for them to speak face to face. "Nothing is going on. Just go home. I don't want you here. Just leave." Her tears ran wild as she took a step back. "You don't want me." Her lip trembled as she took another step back and fell off the porch, scraping up her ankle, thigh, calf, and her arm on the sharp pebbles. She groaned and heard the door open as she bent up her knee, examining the damage on her leg. "Oh, God. Are you okay?" Next thing she knew, Jacob was beside her, but she couldn't look at him. "Let's get you inside. I'll call Sue to get this taken care of, okay?" She shook her head and pushed him back. "I'm fine." He was still trying to be protective of her, but she wasn't having it. He didn't want her anymore and she felt used, like a prostitute pushed out of a car after a quick-shot blowjob. "You're not fine. You're bleeding, Bella." She shook her head as her hair shielded her face, hiding the tears that stained her features. "I said I'm fine, damn it." She snapped at him and she saw his arm flinch from her tone. This just made more tears fall. "You wanted me to leave. I'll leave." "I don't want you to leave if you're injured. Let me call Sue to get you fixed up." She shook her head as she looked away from him. "I'm just gonna go home." She slowly moved to her feet and his arm wrapped around her waist to try to assist her, but she pushed it away. This was all a big mistake. She whispered to herself as she slowly walked to her car, but he heard every word. "Bella, wait." She pulled open her door and climbed in before locking her doors, putting the key in the ignition. She didn't need to look. She could see his stature next to the car. "Goodbye, Jacob." She pushed the hair out of her face, revealing her heartbroken face, before she sped out of his driveway. Her tears kept falling the whole drive home and her chest stung when she took in deep breaths. Why did this hurt so much? She had been through a bunch of breakups, but this hurt 10 times as much. She struggled to focus on the road. She almost ran off the road a few times, but she didn't have any accidents. She didn't feel grateful for this. She wanted the pain to go away that resonated within her heart. The muscle clenched constantly as she rubbed her eyes to try to stop the tears. They clouded her vision. Her phone was constantly going off, but she couldn't talk to anyone with her in this state. She knew she was a liability to Jacob's secret in this state. She flinched as she thought his name and found it hurt too much to think. What did she do that was so wrong? Why would he make her feel the way she did about him just to rip her heart from her chest? She knew it wasn't his fault. Neither of them had any control over her feelings. She hoped she would never regret signing that contract, but now she did. She pulled up in front of the apartment and grabbed her phone, wiping her tears away once more before she looked at the screen. She saw she had 15 missed calls and 5 new texts, all from him. "Please, answer the phone. Are you okay? Let me know you got home safely. Talk to me, Bella. Are you alive?" She took a deep breath, squinted, and sniffed her tears. She knew he wouldn't stop texting and calling until she responded, but she didn't want to respond. "I'm fine, I'm home, and I don't want to talk. You don't want me anymore and that's fine, but you can't keep acting like you care. It's not your business anymore what's going on with me. I just want to move on from this, so please stop calling and texting me. Goodbye, Jacob." A sharp pain shot through her heart as she typed his name before she hit send. As soon as her phone let her know that the message went through, she turned off her phone. After wiping her face, she went inside the apartment. She was amazed to see that it was empty. No Angela and no Embry in sight and no noise coming from anywhere. She made her way to her room and collapsed onto the floor as she closed the door. In that very moment, it sunk it that it was over between her and him. Their story was over. He made sure she knew when a sub was released from her contract that the contract was never renewed and he kicked them out of his life for good. She knew better than to hope to be friends with him or hope for him to change his mind. When he said goodbye, it was forever and there was no turning back. She climbed into bed and rolled herself in her blanket before letting herself resume her crying. Jacob raced to his phone when he heard it go off. He snatched it off the counter and opened the new text from Bella. He gasped as he read the words before him. "You really think I don't want you anymore?" He couldn't handle her thinking something like this. He needed to correct her. He wasn't sure what he would say, but he couldn't stop himself from calling her. He put the phone to his ear and it instantly went to voicemail. "Hey, it's Bella. You know what to do." He groaned and heard the beep before speaking. "Bella, call me when you turn your phone back on. I'm sorry." He hung up and groaned as he tossed his phone back on the counter. His mind reflected back on their time together. The amazing sex, the fun dates they went on, and most of all, the stress-free time they hung out together. They would just sit back and watch TV together. Cartoons were their thing that they did together. He couldn't look anywhere in that house without seeing her. She was the only sub he had that took an interest in his life outside of their arrangement and wanted to be his friend. He couldn't understand what was happening to him. He wanted to run after her, but the rational side of him kept him grounded where he was. A part of him that he had never known was there wanted to push him back to her. He couldn't though. He was stuck between a rock and a hard place. He had no idea how he would ever get out of this place he put himself or if it would ever be possible to forget Isabella Swan. Bella couldn't bring herself to leave her room the rest of the weekend and she kept her phone turned off. She couldn't stand the idea of talking to anyone after the heartbreak she endured until she got her emotions in check. It took all weekend to do it. She woke up bright and early. She instantly started packing a box full of all of the things he had ever bought for her. The engraved pen, her laptop, phone, clothes, lingerie, etc. She didn't want to look at any of it. She wasn't his anymore and she didn't want to see the reminders of her time with him. The box was pretty full when she was done and it was heavy. Jacob was constantly buying things for her. There had to be at least $50,000 worth of stuff in that big box. She carried the box into the living room and found both Embry and Angela sitting at the kitchen table eating McDonald's. They looked baffled to see her there. "Bella, when did you get here?" She shrugged as she jogged to the kitchen in her yoga pants and tank top. "I've been here since Saturday afternoon," she confessed as she poured herself a cup of coffee from the fresh pot. "I seriously need to teach you how to make coffee. This is horrid." Bella sneered and Angela's eyes widened from the snippy comment her friend shot at her. Something was definitely wrong. "I thought you were staying with Jake for the weekend." Bella stiffened as Angela said this and the couple exchanged a worried look from Bella's sudden rigidness. "Yeah, so what? You got a problem with me being here?" she snapped as she poured out the pot of coffee into the sink before she started a fresh pot. "Bella." Angela moved over to her friend and put her hands on her shoulders. "Hey, what's wrong?" Bella bit her lip as it started to tremble and squinted her eyes. No, she refused to shed another tear over Jacob Black. She had cried enough over him kicking her to the curb. "Nothing. Just didn't sleep well." She lied through her teeth and Angela could see it. She decided to give Bella space, but she was going to send in reinforcements. Angela strolled over to Embry before she leaned down to his ear. "Will you please talk to her?" "She won't talk to me." Embry nodded before kissing Angela's cheek. Angela skipped off to her room as Embry made it into the kitchen, taking a seat on the counter next to her. "Spill." He spoke with a commanding edge as she poured the pot of water into the coffee pot. "What are you talking about?" Bella's asked with an irritated tone. "Come on. You aren't fooling anyone. Something is wrong. I have a feeling it has to do with Jake, which means you can't talk to Angela about it, so talk to me. What's the problem?" Bella gulped as she bit her lip, forcing down the tremble of her lip. "You released me from the contract," she confessed as she bowed her head. She hoped to keep it all bottled up, but her heart had been breaking for days. She still wasn't strong enough to be around anyone. "What?" Embry was baffled. "Why?" Bella shrugged. "He didn't give me a reason." She pushed the pot back in its place before rinsing out her mug. "Not like it even matters. I never meant anything to him, anyways. I was just wasting my time thinking that what we had was special." Embry let out a sad sigh as Bella wiped at her eyes. "Like I said, it doesn't matter. It was doomed to fail, anyways." The coffee finished brewing and she poured herself a cup. "I have a bunch of stuff that he gave me. Could you take it to him along with the car he bought for me?" She questioned before looking to him with the saddest eyes he had ever seen in his life. "What the hell is wrong with you, Jake?" Embry questioned in his head before nodding. "Sure. No problem." She hurried to fix her cup of coffee as he jumped down and placed his hand on her shoulder. "Don't worry. I'm sure everything will fix itself." She huffed before grinding her teeth. "Oh, I'm sure." She sneered sarcastically. "I'm sure it will fix itself just as well as yours and Rebecca's relationship did." She threw that in his face before moving around him and racing off to her room. She was hurting so much that she even forgot her coffee on the counter. Embry stayed parked next to the helicopter pad with a straight face as Jacob strolled down to it, dressed in his normal suit. He opened the door and got in quickly with a sigh. Jacob looked next to him and found a big box full of stuff. "What's this?" Jacob asked and Embry gritted his teeth. He was still on edge from that comment Bella had made about his mistake of a marriage to his fucking sister. "All the stuff you bought for Bella. She wanted me to give it to you." Jacob groaned and rubbed his hand over his face. "That includes the car you got her. She didn't want any of it." Embry's muscles tensed as he sped off and Jacob snapped on his seatbelt. "You want to tell me what the hell happened?" Embry inquired as he took a deep breath, trying to calm himself down. "Why?" Embry had never asked what had ended his relationship with any of his past subs, so this was odd to Jacob. "Because, whatever happened, it highly altered her personality. Gone is the soft-spoken Bella. Now, she's acting like fucking Rachel." Jacob's eyes widened as Embry made this comparison. Embry never compared anyone to Rachel. Rachel was heartless in her judgments, and Jacob could never imagine Bella being like that. Bella was sweet and understanding. "What?" Jacob was nearly speechless. "Yeah, she went off on Angela this morning about the way she makes coffee. Then, she had the audacity to throw my marriage to Rebecca in my fucking face when I tried to talk to her about whatever happened. She's the spitting image of Rachel right now. Now, tell me. What the fuck happened?" Jacob groaned and rubbed his face again. "Doesn't matter. I tried talking to her, but she didn't want to talk." "What happened?" Embry sneered and Jacob groaned in response. "I can't be with her, okay?" "Why?" "I just can't." "You gotta give me a better reason than that, Jake." Embry just wouldn't stop pushing him. "Because I'm in love with her, alright." Satisfied. Jacob finally confessed the way he felt about her out loud for the first time and Embry rolled his eyes. "Tell me something I don't know." Embry snarled at his friend and boss whose jaw dropped. "What? How would you know that?" Embry rolled his eyes. "Because I know you. You've never looked at anyone the way you look at Bella. So, what's the issue? Are you afraid she's going to hurt you or some shit?" Jacob groaned before gripping his hair in his head, bowing in his seat. "No, God. Why the hell are you pushing this? What the hell does my relationship with Bella have to do with anything?" "Because it's fucking with everything. My relationship is on the damn fence because Angela is pissed at you for Bella being like this. Bella is treating everyone like shit and making everyone miserable. Hell, it was better when she was a fucking recluse and hid herself away in her damn room. We didn't even know she was there until this morning, which means she didn't eat, shower, or use the fucking bathroom for 2 fucking days, man." It upset Jake that she was doing this to herself because of him. This is why he was constantly worried about her. He worried about how well she could take care of herself. "Now, tell me. What the fuck are you afraid of?" Jacob relaxed into his seat before taking a deep long breath. "I don't want to hurt her." Embry laughed at what Jacob said. "Well, newsflash. That's exactly what you did. That girl wouldn't be acting like this unless she was hurting. You need to fix this before it's too late to do anything about it." Jacob stared at the picture sitting on his desk. This photo had brought him comfort since Rebecca had given it to him a few months ago, but now, it was hard to look at. It was the photo she had taken of him and Bella together during that first dinner with his family. You could tell both of them were happy. She had a shy smile on her face, her dark hair laid on her shoulder, and she wore the red dress he had bought for her. He thought she looked gorgeous that day. Her eyes sparkled with joy, and he remembered how embarrassed she was by everyone gushing over her. It made him happy how well she had meshed with his family, with the exception of Rachel. No one ever really got on with her. The lump formed in his throat as he remembered how heartbroken she looked when she last left his house, the last time he saw her. Of course, it had only been a few days, but it had felt like a lifetime. He had gotten so used to being in constant communication with her that it was difficult to go even a day without talking to her or just texting. Her encouragement and support helped him make it through everyday life, and it was all gone in the blink of an eye. You did this to yourself. He thought as he ran his thumb over her dark hair in the photo. He wanted to talk to her, see her, touch her, but he couldn't. He couldn't get her to talk to him, and he couldn't push himself into her life. That would come off as obsessive if he just showed up out of the blue with no reason to be present. What do you care how it would look? A little voice asked from the back of his head, and he wasn't sure if it was him or some higher power speaking to him. Maybe this voice was meant to talk some sense into him. You're the dom. She was your sub. What does it matter how it looks? The voice went more in depth with its question. Because, she's different. He replied as he smirked at the picture. God, she was radiant and beautiful. It wasn't just the physical aspects of her that had him so captivated. She was the purest, most understanding and caring soul he had ever come in contact with. She was witty, creative, invigorating, and alluring. She was so innocent, but yet she had a vixen lying beneath the surface. A seductress disguised as an angel. When he met her, all it took was one look in those sweet cocoa eyes, and he knew he was done for. He knew he would do anything just to be with her, and he had jumped through endless hoops just to get there. He had been shocked when she signed that contract, but he was ecstatic at the same time. For the most part, their relationship had been peaceful and full of positive energies. Though, yes, he couldn't keep his hands off of her, that wasn't what really made their relationship. It was their similarities. They both had darkness in their past. The difference was that she had been able to see past the cloud above to the bright sun waiting to break through. He wasn't able to see it until she guided him through the cloud bank to the bright, joyous sunlight. Why can't you get her out of your head? The voice came back to question his thoughts, and he laid down the photo before rubbing his hands over his face in frustration. Because I need her and I love her. He finally admitted it to himself. He did need her. She was a major part of his life and, without her, he was lost. A ship without a sail. A boat without a paddle. He had no direction and that loss consumed his thoughts. He needed to talk to her and fix this. He picked up his phone and quickly texted her old number. Can we please talk? I'm begging you, Bella. He sat down his phone and tapped the desk, waiting for a response. He was desperate and he hoped she knew exactly how much, but her response showed she didn't. He hurried to pick up his phone when she texted him back and read the text message. Let's nod and say we did. You pulled the plug and there is nothing else to be said. Goodbye, Jacob. He groaned as he finished reading her message. You aren't going to make this easy, are you? Shouldn't be any surprise there. He grumbled to himself. She never made anything that was serious easy on him. It was a struggle, but the hardest things are the things worth fighting for. If it were easy, it wouldn't be a fight and the triumph wouldn't be as gratifying. He was about to jump up, cancel his appointments for the day, and have this confrontation, but his phone rang. With excitement, he grabbed it, but was disappointed when he saw it wasn't Bella calling him. He noticed it wasn't a number he recognized. Still, he answered the call. This is Jake. He answered in his normal fashion and heard a masculine scoff. Hey Jacob. It's Charlie. This was a first. Charlie Swan had never called him before. He knew Bella's father had his number, but he never actually expected a phone call from him, especially at a time that was so tense between Bella and Jacob. Hey Charlie. How can I help you? He asked with his normal, straightforward approach. Well, I know Bella said you wouldn't be making it to the barbecue tomorrow, but I thought I would call and double check with you. Sue is needing a head count. Barbecue? He questioned himself and the light bulb went off in his head. Sure, she didn't give me many details about it. It wasn't a complete lie. She had mentioned this to him a few weeks ago, but it was just in passing, and all she said was that it was at the Swan house. Cool. I'll shoot you a text with everything. Charlie was about to hang up when a thought occurred to Jacob. Wait, did Bella give you her RSVP yet? He inquired and Charlie chuckled. Yup, didn't she tell you she was coming? Jacob knew this probably sounded suspicious. He was sure Bella hadn't told him about them going separate ways, and he was glad. This gave him the opportunity to see her without it seeming obsessive or stalker-type behavior. Yeah. I just wasn't sure if she had told you yet. She's had a lot on her plate lately with school. I just thought I'd check. He quickly came up with a lie to cover his tracks. He planned to use the fact that no one knew about their breakup to his advantage. Thanks for the thought. I'm glad she has you. Thanks. Charlie hung up and Jacob frowned. She doesn't have me, but hopefully, she will soon. He finally relaxed and had enough wits about him to finish up the paperwork he was signing. Bella slowly made her way out of her bedroom and found Angela sitting on the couch by herself, writing away in her journal. Angela used to write all the time, but she rarely did it anymore, just when something weighed heavy on her mind and she needed an outlet that wasn't unhealthy. "Hey," Bella said, her voice soft and low like it used to be. When Angela looked up at her, Bella realized exactly what her heartbreak had done to her friendship with Angela. It had created a wedge between the two girls. Angela gazed up at her, shocked that she actually acknowledged her. "Hey." Bella walked around and sat down next to her, crossing her legs once she was leaned back on the sofa. "Sorry I've been so out of it lately. I've been really hard on you about everything and I'm sorry." Angela smirked before hugging her friend. "You have nothing to apologize for, Miss Thang." Bella giggled. Angela was always so understanding and forgiving. It was one of the many things Bella loved about her. Most people would judge Bella from the outside and think she was a gold digger who was just upset because her rich boyfriend left her. "Thanks. Do you want to talk about whatever happened?" Bella gulped before rubbing her face. "Jake dumped me is what happened." Angela gasped, jaw dropped. Her mouth was open so wide Bella was surprised her chin didn't hit the floor. "Wait, what?" Bella frowned as she hugged her stomach. Jacob's incessant texts didn't help how bad she was hurting. She had contemplated blocking his number, but the truth was him texting gave her the fantasy that he still cared. "Why? Did you guys have a fight?" Bella shook her head. "No. He didn't give me a reason. It was so sudden. One minute, everything was great. We were having fun at the beach with his sister and brother-in-law, then he ran off to his house while I was surfing. I went to check on him and he was like, 'Sorry, doesn't work for me anymore.' Of course, he didn't say it like that, but that's the gist of it. Not to mention, since it happened, he's been blowing up my phone, asking to talk. I keep telling him no, but he's been very persistent." Angela placed her hand on Bella's shoulder in a way to support her. "Why don't you want to talk to him?" "Because he told me right after we started dating what happens at the end of all of his relationships. When it's done, it's done. All contact is over. No friendships, no relationship, no nothing." Angela's eyes widened at this statement. "You mean he isn't friends with any of his exes?" Bella shrugged a little. "He is with one, but that's just because she was his first and she's his confidant of sorts." Bella tried to not think of Rosalie Hale at all, but she was a part of this conversation. "Well, I can think of one thing he would be trying to talk to you about in that case." Bella tilted her head, waiting for Angela to continue. She really needed her best friend's wisdom. "Bella, he's never friends with his exes, but has been texting you every day since your breakup. That makes it obvious that he regrets his decision to end your relationship and wants you back." Bella couldn't let herself entertain this fantasy. It would only lead to more heartache. "That can't be it. He was very adamant that he didn't want me anymore. He had his fill and it was just over." She hated to think like this, but this was the reality she lived in. Jacob Black wasn't interested anymore. "Hey, don't you remember my relationship with Tanner?" Tanner Ferguson was Angela's first love. It was the longest relationship she ever had and only ended because he moved away to Colorado. "What about it?" Bella questioned and Angela smirked. "The first time we broke up, I was devastated. He spouted off about how he didn't want me anymore and how he had much better prospects than me. I stayed at your house for a week and cried my eyes out. Don't you remember that?" She did remember. Bella had hated Tanner for doing this to her friend. It was wrong to say such cruel things to someone you were dating. "Yeah. Your point?" "My point is, when I finally went back home, Tanner was waiting for me and apologized for the things he said to me. He had been sitting on my porch for almost 3 days straight, only leaving to sleep. He came crawling back and told me he had said those things because he was so damn scared by the fact that he loved me and had never felt that way before." "Sometimes, guys just get scared and do stupid shit, Bella, like leave the relationship. We will never understand the inner working of the male brain. Do you still love him?" Bella blushed and sighed. "Of course, I do." "Then, if I were you, I would hear him out. My advice would be to make him sweat a little bit. It will teach him a little lesson about taking you for granted." Angela's advice made Bella laugh. Bella did enjoy making Jacob sweat, but she reminded herself that he was the one who left her. "Thanks for the advice, but I highly doubt he is wanting to get back together." Angela rolled her eyes. "At least think about it. Oh, and start taking your birth control again." Angela commanded and Bella gasped. She didn't understand how Angela would know that she stopped taking her pills. "How?" "You leave your Yaz pack on the counter. You haven't taken it since Saturday. Start taking it because I don't want you having a baby anytime soon. You still have 4 years of school to go, Miss Thang." Angela teased, but Bella knew she was serious. Bella knew it wasn't a good idea to stop her birth control, but just looking at the pack reminded her of Jacob. She started taking birth control when she was 14 just to lighten her periods because she bled a ton and it was all kinds of painful without the birth control. It helped her to be able to function while on her rag, but then Jacob came into the picture and she was taking it for a completely different reason. He made sure she knew he never wanted children and that was fine with her. She never expected their relationship to last forever and this was one place they had butted. She wanted children. She loved kids. They brought her joy. As long as he had the idea in his head that the worst curse he could give someone was being their dad, she knew they wouldn't last. She knew no man was worth robbing herself of the future she wanted, children, grandchildren, etc. But they were broken up now. It wasn't an issue and her period had settled. She didn't see herself wanting to have sex with anyone other than Jacob and that was over, so what was the point of birth control? There was none. Alright. Let's get ready for the barbecue. They both jumped up and started to get ready. Bella put on a short black skirt and a white camisole with a built-in bra. Along with this outfit, she put on her black flats and was ready to go. Angela wore a similar outfit, a grey camisole and brown leather skirt. "What happened to your car, by the way?" Angela asked as they left the apartment and Bella frowned. "I had Embry take it back to Jake along with all the other stuff Jake had bought for me. If we weren't together, I didn't want any of it." Angela frowned at this. She suddenly had an idea of pure genius concerning the breakup between Bella and Jacob. "Can you start the car for me? I need to call Embry and make sure he is still meeting us at the barbecue." Bella gasped as she said this. "Embry is going? That's not a good idea. Rebecca is going to be there." Angela was instantly perplexed. "Rebecca who?" Bella laughed before smiling. "Rebecca Finau, Jake's sister. Ring any bells?" Angela shook her head and Bella's jaw instantly slacked. "Oh, my god. Embry hasn't told you?" She couldn't believe that Embry wouldn't tell Angela about what had gone on with him and Rebecca. They were in a relationship and this was something that Bella believed Angela had a right to know. What person doesn't tell their girlfriend that they were married before? "Told me what?" Embry was married to Rebecca right after high school." Angela's jaw slacked with bewilderment. "Excuse me?" Bella nodded. "Yeah. They divorced after a few years but haven't spoken to each other since. I was sure he would have told you, but it was something neither of them liked to talk about. That's at least what Jake said about it." Angela huffed as Bella said this. "Why? Was it abusive or something?" Angela inquired, curious because of her romance with Embry. "Odd, no. Embry? Abusive? You know him better than I do and I know that's the most ridiculous thing ever." Angela narrowed her eyes at Bella. "This is my boyfriend we are talking about." "Spill." Bella sighed and caved. "Alright. If I tell you, you have to promise me something." Angela nodded for Bella to continue. "Promise me that you won't confront him about it. Let him bring it up to you because it's hard for him to talk about. He hasn't dealt with it yet." Angela saw this as a reasonable request. "Alright. What is it?" "I promise I will let him bring it up." "What is it that was so traumatizing about his marriage to Jake's sister?" Bella gulped before frowning. "They had a baby together." Angela's jaw slacked as Bella continued. "Their daughter was sick and died before she was even a day old. They found out through an autopsy that their daughter was so bad off because Embry and Rebecca are related." Angela gasped. "Wait, what? Related? How?" Bella gulped and fought back the urge to cry. Embry never knew who his father was growing up. His mother didn't want to tell him. Embry was conceived through an infidelity between Embry's mom and Jake's dad, so that was where the issue lied. Angela gasped and covered her mouth in horror. "Oh, my god." Bella nodded and sighed. From what Jake said, the both of them were highly disgusted with themselves when they found out and immediately divorced. They would both rather forget all about it, so they have pretty much ignored each other's existence since they found out the truth. Angela was shocked to her core. Her wonderful, amazing boyfriend had fucked, married, and had a kid with his own sister. Oh, wow. She was stumped. She wasn't sure what to do with this information. "Please, for Embry's sake, don't let him know that you know. Let him open up about it when he's ready. Please." Angela nodded and got herself under control. "Of course. It's not like it was that he knowingly shacked up with his sister. It was a mistake and everyone makes mistakes." Angela tried to see past how gross it was and look at it from an outsider's standpoint, but it was disgusting to her. "Exactly." Angela handed Bella the car keys to start it up as Angela ran over to the front door and called her boyfriend. "Hey, babe. What's up?" Angela heard the voice of Embry and she gulped. "Hey. Do you happen to know if Jake is going to the barbecue today or just you?" She questioned quietly in case Bella was listening in. She doubted Bella could hear from how far away she was, but she didn't want to take the chance. "Jake is going to be there." "Why?" "Because I am getting sick of these two pussyfooting around their problems. This shit needs to end today." Angela groaned. "Seriously, what kind of man dumps someone and gives them no reason at all for why he was leaving them?" She questioned with irritation. "One who's scared shitless and can't come up with a good enough lie." She completely agreed with him, but she needed more of an in-depth answer than that. "What do you know?" she inquired instantly. He freaked himself out. He finally realized he's in love with her and didn't want to hurt her. Angela scoffed at this. "Well, that's exactly what he did. That's what I told him." Embry groaned and Angela smiled to herself. "Well, I'm proud of you, then." He laughed to himself and she loved the sound. "Thanks, babe." Is that why he's been stalking her phone? Probably. He's going to the barbecue just to see her and get a chance to talk to her. I told him he needed to fix his shit and that I won't be surprised if she kicks him in the balls for pulling this crap. Angela laughed aloud at this. Nah. She will probably just drag him off to have make-up sex. Angela joked with Embry before she got serious. It will take a lot of begging and him showing that he's not just trying to mess with her head. Bella has very low self-esteem and what he did just made it worse. I tried to convince her that he had been wanting to talk to get her back, but she refused to see it. She just is stuck thinking that he doesn't want her anymore. The sooner he can get that out of her head the better. "Okay, I'll see you there." She smiled to herself. "Embry?" "Yeah? I love you." He chuckled as she said this to him in the sweetest voice ever. "I love you, too, babe." They said their goodbyes and Angela headed back to her car. Bella slowly got out of the car at her father's house, where she saw a bunch of people spread out in the front yard. She knew this party was spread out into the backyard and the living room. Most of the town usually attended and it was a good day for a barbecue. There wasn't a cloud in the sky, it wasn't raining, and it was unusually warm for mid-April. Bella caught sight of Charlie as he sprinted across the street to greet his daughter in an enthusiastic fashion. He gave her a big hug and it brought a smile to her face. "Afternoon, Dad." He released a hug with a big smile. "Hey Bells. I'm so glad you two could make it. I'm a little surprised you didn't come with Jacob, though." Charlie tilted his head curiously and Bella stiffened. She was nervous about breaking the news of her breakup to Charlie. He liked Jacob and thought he would be good for his daughter. "Sorry, but he seemed pretty busy last I saw him." She shrugged and Charlie laughed. "Well, he always seems to make time. He's assisting with the grill right now." Bella gasped as she looked to him dumbfounded. "Jake's here?" Charlie nodded with narrowed eyes. "Yeah. Is there a problem?" She quickly changed her demeanor and gave her father a fake smile. "No. I just thought we would get here first is all." She gave a quick explanation to her shock and it sated Charlie. "Oh, okay. Well, let's go relieve him. I know that grill can get pretty hot and it's already blistering out." Bella instantly started to panic. Angela saw the anxiety across Bella's face in an instant. "Actually, Charlie, we will be right in. We were talking about something private before we got here. It won't take long." Bella looked to Angela curiously as Charlie shrugged. "Alright, but don't take too long." Charlie jogged up his lawn and disappeared into the backyard. "What's wrong?" Angela asked and Bella started to breathe heavily. "I can't see him. I need to leave." Angela quickly tucked her keys in her pocket and scowled. "No, you are staying." "Do you know why?" Bella groaned as she twirled her hair nervously. "You are staying because 1, I'm not giving you my keys and 2, you are strong. Your families are friends. You can't avoid him forever." Bella saw Angela's logic, but she was still scared to see him. "But." "No buts, Miss Swan. We are going to this barbecue and we will have some fun. Now, chin up and give me a big smile." "So damn bossy." Bella took a deep breath and gave Angela a small smile. "Thought a girl." Angela hooked her arm with Bella's and subtlety dragged her to the backyard. The backyard had a large awning with a cement patio and chairs. The barbecue pit was next to the large pool. By the pool was a large grass area with a volleyball net set up. Bella's eyes instantly went to the barbecue pit with Jacob flipping burgers with Charlie by his side, both men laughing up a storm. Her breath caught in her chest as she looked at him. He was just as breathtaking as ever. Hair disheveled, a mist of sweat coated his russet complexion. The hard muscles of his chest and arms were visible since he didn't have on a shirt. He only wore a pair of blue and white checkerboard swimming trunks. He sported a large grin on his face and his eyes lit up as he laughed along with her father. Her stomach clenched at the sight of him and Angela smirked at her friend. "That took a lot less time than I expected, honey." Charlie smiled at his daughter and Jacob's eyes finally landed on her. As soon as they made eye contact, her gaze averted to her father with a kind smile. "Told you it wouldn't take too long, Charlie." Angela's cheery voice distracted Charlie from the way Jacob was staring at Bella. He had missed her and now here she was, right in front of him. She looked so perfect in that simple yet sexy outfit of hers. It made her even more attractive to him. Angela could see instantly how Jacob was undressing Bella with his eyes and she giggled to herself. "Bella." They heard her name being called and their eyes snapped to see Lee running over to her stepsister. Bella welcomed Lee with a hug and laugh. "Hey Lee." Bella was glad for the distraction. I absolutely love your outfit. It seems someone had a positive influence on your wardrobe. Lee teased and Bella blushed. She hated to be gushed over. Thanks. Lee was wearing less than Bella. She sported a black bikini that complemented her copper skin tone. Nice bathing suit. Bella giggled and Lee flashed a big smile. Thanks. My new boyfriend helped me pick it out. Bella was confused. You're dating someone now? She figured someone would have told her that Lee was dating again. She had been dating some guy from La Push, but they had a pretty bad breakup right before Bella met Jacob, so she didn't expect her to be dating so soon. Yeah, he's right here. Ben. Lee called out to her new boy toy who maneuvered through the crowd to them. Bella and Angela both gasped as they saw one of Bella's ex-boyfriends make their way over to them. Ben was the horror story of all of Bella's breakups. She wished she would never have to see him after high school graduation, but fate had dealt her the shitty hand of having to see two of her exes at the same time when both were painful for different reasons. Bella, hey. Ben gave her a big smile as he draped his arm over Lee's shoulder and gave Bella a devious grin that sent a shiver down her spine. Hey Ben. Bella let out a shaky breath and the mood of the air was tense at best. The only one oblivious to it was Charlie. He was focused on the burgers. You look good, Bella. Ben undressed her with his eyes, and the only ones who didn't notice that Bella covered her chest with her arms was Lee and Charlie. Jacob was confused by what he was witnessing, and his possessiveness and protectiveness was kicking into overdrive. Jacob handed the prongs to Charlie before he moved over to Bella, standing protectively by her side, like a bodyguard. Babe, this is Bella's boyfriend Jacob. Lee introduced Ben and Jacob. Bella mentally facepalmed. Damn it, Lee. We are broken up. This is going to be so embarrassing. Bella expected Jacob to deny the status Lee had awarded him, then she would never hear the end of letting Jake get away from Lee. Hey, man. Jacob greeted Ben in his normal polite tone before wrapping his arms around Bella's waist. Bella's eyes widened as she looked to Angela who winked at her with an edge to her eyes that said I told you so. Bella didn't respond to this look. Instead, her eyes went to Ben who looked irked to say the least. Nice to meet you. The two men shook hands before Jacob's hand went back to Bella's abdomen. Her gut twitched under his touch and her hands moved over his unconsciously. It felt good to be touching him and it helped her entertain the fantasy that he might still want her. Oh, my man just got here. I need to go publicly molest him. Angela teased and Bella's feature contorted with disgust. Odd, Ang. That's just disgusting. Ben chortled. Same old Bella. Just as much of a prude, a tease, and forever a virgin. Bella could not believe that Ben had the nerve to say all of this about her in front of her father, her stepsister, and for all he knew, her boyfriend. Wait, you guys haven't had sex yet. Lee's jaw slacked and Jacob smirked proudly. Oh, we have. Many times in many different places. Bella couldn't believe that Jacob actually spoke this aloud. Who the hell are you and what have you done with Jacob Black? Bella thought to herself before glancing up at him. He gave her an affectionate smirk before Ben's jaw slacked. How long have you two been together? Ben asked, annoying Bella. A little over 3 months, right, baby? Bella didn't have the strength to speak, so she just nodded. Yeah, I thought so. Jacob kissed her cheek and she relaxed into his embrace. He felt her muscles lose their tension and he held her closer to him. Wow, that seems pretty quick for you, Bella, but maybe it was Forks High holding you back. Ben teased and Bella scowled at him. The nerve of him. Shove it up your ass, Cheney. Lee's and Ben's jaw dropped with shock at what Bella had just said. She was always so soft-spoken, but not now. She wasn't going to take any lip from Ben Cheney, period. Not after what he did to her. I need something to drink. She removed herself from Jacob's arms and went into the house through the back door. Jacob watched her trail with confusion. What was that, baby? Lee questioned her boyfriend who shrugged. We went on a few dates sophomore year. She's sore as all. Jacob rolled his eyes and followed after Bella. Bella rushed through the empty kitchen and made her way to the fridge and found the rum that Charlie always kept around for when he needed something harder than beer. She was so happy for Charlie keeping this bottle around. Her hands trembled as she grabbed a glass and struggled to fill the glass without spilling the rum. Jacob walked through the door quietly to see Bella tossing the bottle back in the fridge. She instantly grabbed her glass and chugged the strong liquid down her throat. She never drinks. What's the problem? Jacob questioned himself before slowly strolling over to her. She took a breath and sat down her glass right before Jacob softly touched her shoulder. She jumped a mile high and turned with an anxious breath. Calm down, Bella. It's just me. She groaned loudly before clenching her fists. Don't sneak up on me like that. She snapped at him before grabbing her drink again. She brought it up to her lips to take another drink, but he quickly snatched it out of her hand. What are you doing? You never drink. He smelled the drink and it nearly knocked him off his feet how strong it was. And you never drink stuff so strong. She rolled her eyes before huffing. Me drinking is none of your fucking business, alright? I'm no longer bound by the contract so I can drink myself into a stupor if I want. She tried to snatch back to her drink, but he held it just outside of her reach. Bella, come on. His voice was uncharacteristically soft and low, so inviting to her. She met his eyes and saw sorrow in his. What's wrong? She groaned. You stole my drink and you won't leave me alone. Give it back, Jake. She demanded, but he shook his head. I know that's not it. Just tell me and I'll give it back. She huffed as she ran a frustrated hand through her naturally wavy hair. Promise? He nodded and sat the drink on the counter before moving to her. He cupped her face in his hands and tilted it up to gaze into those beautiful eyes of hers. Just talk to me. What's wrong? What was that whole thing about between you and that guy? She took a long, shaky breath as she averted her gaze to his neck, trying to avoid his eyes. Do you remember how I told you every guy I ever dated I had a sex-related breakup with? He nodded and squatted a little to meet her gaze, giving her an encouraging smile. Yes. He egged her on and she took a deep breath. I dated Ben for a few weeks in high school. He was nice and sweet until the one time we were completely alone. Jacob was focused on what she was telling him and noticed her bottom lip start to tremble as he stroked her cheek. It's okay. Just tell me. She nodded before gulping. One day, when Charlie and Sue were working and Seth and Lee were off doing their thing, Ben came over to hang out with me and was trying to pressure me into having sex with him and he didn't want to take no for an answer. A sharp breath left Jake's lips as she said this. Ella, what did he do? He knew she hadn't been raped or her hymen wouldn't have been intact when they first had sex. He tried to rape me. She looked into his cinnamon eyes and the sorrow in his eyes eased her fears. He would have been successful if Charlie hadn't hidden a gun in the sofa. I pulled it on him and he left. Jacob nodded as he stroked her hair affectionately and pressed his forehead to hers. You shouldn't ever have to go through something like that. She gulped as she gazed into those amazing cinnamon eyes of his. For once, they showed a broken soul within them. He was always so strong, hiding what was really on the inside, but now he was letting her see within. He was giving her a glimpse into his spirit. Jake. She quietly whispered his name and he cupped her face in his hands, running his thumbs over her flushed cheeks. Her breathing was elevated and her heart was out of control. Here he was with her, listening to her demons, and he was looking at her the way he always had, with such affection that it was tear-jerking. Ella. He softly spoke her name before slowly leaning down to her level, inclining her head back. Her eyes drifted closed just as his lips made contact with hers. Electricity shot through her and her gut coiled as she kissed him back. He released her face and cradled one hand on the back of her head and the other on her back. She whimpered into his succulent lips as his tongue collided with hers. So much heart-wrenching passion coursed through him, successfully communicated to her. He slowly walked her towards the kitchen table and lifted her to sit on the edge of it. Her legs involuntarily spread and he stepped between her heavenly thighs, stroking his hands up her smooth legs. Pressing her palms against the glazed table beneath her, she pressed her mouth harder against his, and she felt his hand move over her bikini-style panties, cupping her core in his rather large hand. She threw her head back as he did this, and his mouth moved to her neck, sucking on that sensitive spot that always drove her crazy. Oh, God. She whimpered and he shushed her as he rubbed her clit through that damn barrier. You're so beautiful. He whispered huskily to her before releasing his prominent erection from the confinements of his trunks and pushed her panties off her pussy. He pushed her to lay down and she looked to him with lustful eyes, bewildered by this, until she saw his heart on. What are you doing? She whispered and looked around, panicked. What do you think? He teased her clit with his engorged mushroom top and she moaned quietly. We can't. Someone might walk in, Jake. She tried to get him to see reason, but he wasn't dissuaded. And I stopped my she was about to tell him that she wasn't taking her birth control anymore, but he interrupted her by slamming into her. She arched off the table and all rational thinking left her brain. All she could think about was them and him being buried inside of her. Oh, my God. She mewled as he thrusted repeatedly into her center continuously while slapping her well-rounded ass. Keep your voice down. We don't want to give someone a reason to come in here. She whimpered and nodded as he bent over her, passionately kissing her pouty lips. His bratwurst slammed into her over and over, bobbing her body with the power behind it. She bit her lip and he growled as he saw this. You know what you biting that lip does to me. He quickly pulled out of her and she gasped loudly from the sudden loss of contact. Before she knew what was happening, he flipped her over and took her from behind. She moaned dramatically and clutched the table, scratching the wood. Shit, Jake. She mewled quietly and he groaned. I want you to come, baby. She covered her mouth as she fought the urge to scream from how his hips whirled and his length pounded into her. I want you to come hard and I want you to do it right now. She screamed into her hand, muffling the sound. From how the music was blaring outside, no one would be able to hear the gurgling noise coming from her as she clenched around him. "That's it, baby. Did that feel good?" She nodded vigorously as she held her hands over her mouth. "That's my girl. Now, it's my turn." She needed to tell him that he couldn't, but she knew if she released her mouth, she would scream. She quickly shook her head as he continued in on her. "Shit." He cursed as he saw someone standing outside the door and heard the knob start to turn. Quickly, he pulled out of her and pulled back up his trunks before pulling her off the table. He quickly sat in a chair and pulled her into his lap to hide his erection and the fact that her panties were all lopsided. The door opened and she struggled to calm her breath as an array of teenage girls walked in, laughing their heads off. "Hey Bella." She recognized the girl from next door in the crowd and gave her a shy wave. "Are you having fun?" Bella reflected over what had just happened and blushed like a tomato. "Having a blast." The girl nodded and grabbed a 12-pack of cola from the pantry. All of the girls went outside except for a few stragglers. Once Bella felt Jacob's erection dissipate, she stood up and glanced at him, seeing an affectionate grin on his face, before she retreated to the backyard. She took a deep breath of fresh air before trying to find Angela. Bella couldn't believe what she just did. She just had sex with Jacob on her father's kitchen table in the middle of a damn barbecue. She started to quietly hyperventilate from this revelation. How could she be so stupid to let this happen? "Angela." Bella called for her friend and finally found her around the side of the house. When she finally tracked her down, Bella had tears running down her face. "Oh, my God. What's wrong?" Angela hugged her and Bella quickly shook her head. "I don't know what's wrong with me." Angela could see something had really upset her friend and she needed to figure out what. She quickly dragged Bella back to her car and they got in before talking. "What happened?" Bella sobbed as she held her hair out of her face. "I just had sex with Jake in the kitchen." Angela gasped. She was amazed that Bella would be that bold to fuck someone where anyone could walk in at any moment. "What's the problem with that? Did you guys make up?" Bella shook her head as another sob racked through her body. "No, we didn't make up. The problem is that I have no fucking control over my own damn body where he is concerned. I can't get my feelings for him to go away and I want them to disappear so I don't have to feel like this." Angela couldn't believe this. Those two crazy in love people were alone together, had sex, and Bella still didn't want to love him. "Why are you so bent out of shape about this? You love him and he loves you. What more is there to be upset about?" Bella wiped away her tears as her frustration filled her. "He doesn't love me, okay? He followed me into the damn house under the pretense of checking on me and bent me over the table after only being there for a couple minutes. I have no control over myself and it makes me feel cheap and like a whore. If it was anyone else in the fucking world, I would be able to tell them no with no problems at all, but I can't say no to him. Why can't I escape this?" Bella was at the point of uncontrollable sobbing and her chest was aching from the constricting of the muscles in her chest and throat. Whoa. Calm down. Take some deep breaths." Bella tried to do as she asked, but it was no use. She was in the middle of a full-on freakout and she didn't see anything calming it down. "Bella, you need to relax. You know what? Here." Angela went into her glove box and pulled out her pill bottle of Xanax before handing one to Bella. "Take this." Angela handed her the water bottle she had and Bella quickly complied. The sobbing woman struggled with her breathing as she handed back the water bottle and Angela rubbed her back continuously. "Focus on your breathing. I can't believe that man didn't have the fucking balls to tell you." Angela mumbled and Bella tried to focus to calm herself down, but she had a hard time thinking about that comment. "Tell me about what?" Bella questioned after 15 minutes of trying to relax. "You're talking about Jake." Angela nodded. "Umbus had you alone and didn't have the balls to tell you that he loves you." Bella rolled her eyes before groaning to herself. "Jake doesn't love me. You need to get that out of your head. We are never getting back together. He doesn't want me anymore. I just need to move on and come to grips with the fact that I was never anything to him but a pussy to fuck. I just made myself too available and an easy target." Angela groaned. Now, she had enough. "Oh, quit it." Angela snapped and Bella's eyes landed on her friend who was frustrated. "Stop trying to blame yourself for your breakup. Everyone can see how much that man loves you, but you are in such denial. What the fuck makes you so sure about that?" Bella growled with irritation. "Because he told Embry." Bella gasped and gazed at her friend, seeing the truth in her eyes. "What?" Bella was in shock. "Yeah. Embry ripped Jake a new ass about your breakup and pushed him until he finally opened up. Jacob told Embry that he's in love with you and some crap about not wanting to hurt you. Jake only came here today to try to win you back because he knows how badly he fucked up." Bella's heart clenched as she said this to her. "Are you sure?" Angela smirked with a tilt of her head, a challenge in her eyes. Do you seriously think I would tell you this if I thought Embry would lie about this? Jake is so in love with you, Bella. Why can't you just accept that? Angela was getting tired of Bella's denial and needed an honest answer. Because Jake's never been in love. She confessed and Angela gasped. What? All of the girls he dated, he would dump them if they told him they loved him because he doesn't think he is worthy of love. Angela's expression soured as she rubbed Bella's back comfortingly. He has had a life full of pain and guilt over the pain others suffer from. He has been to hell and back, and he has people in his life that have tricked him into thinking their pain is his burden to carry. Angela sighed with disbelief. So, that's why you didn't want me to tell Embry or Jacob about you being in love with Jake? Bella nodded as she wiped away her tears. Because if Jake knew about my feelings for him, he wouldn't want anything to do with me anymore. I've tried to get him to see that he is worthy of it, but he chalks it up to me being a hopeless romantic. He thinks I'm too kind-hearted to see who is unworthy of love. I haven't been able to change his mind. Angela was very understanding of this. She could tell he had some demons that he was dealing with, but she had no idea that they ran into Bella's relationship. A lot of people feel unworthy. Just give it some time. With some patience, that might change. Just give it another shot. Bella took a deep breath before wiping her eyes one last time. If he tells me himself, I will give it another shot, but other than that, I'm not going to make a fool out of myself. I love him and I want to be with him, but I won't put myself out there to be hurt again unless he shows me first that this is true. Bella stated calmly and honestly. The crowd had dispersed for the most part and the remainder of the party that was present was inside of Charlie's house while Bella moved around the backyard, picking up trash from the huge party her father had thrown. She was grateful for the solitude. It gave her time to think and time to herself. She reflected back over the evening. After the whole drama of having to talk with a man who tried to rape her years ago and the surprise sex with Jacob, she had steered clear of most. She hung by her father who attracted Billy and Sarah who also had Rebecca and Solomon with them. Bella had been excited to see Rebecca and her husband, but also anxious. She knew Rebecca and Embry hadn't faced each other since their divorce, and that would make this whole thing very tense. She was amazed when Embry maned up and faced his ex-wife. He introduced Angela to them, which was awkward for Angela since she knew the truth about Rebecca Finau. She was proud that Embry was trying to fix what had been broken so long ago and that Rebecca wasn't retreating like Bella expected her to. Bella and Jacob would exchange longing looks, but after their amazing time in Charlie's kitchen, they didn't speak to each other. Bella wondered to herself why, if Angela was right, Jacob wouldn't be trying to actively win her back. The looks he gave her said he missed her, but nothing more was said between them. She wanted him to say something to her, anything. He could crush her dreams of getting back together with him or tell her how he felt about her. He didn't approach her at all. Instead, he went inside with everyone else while she stayed outside to clean up. She knew it was hard on Sue to clean up the yard the next day, so she hoped to make it easier on her. The poor woman already had so much to deal with already. Being a doctor and Charlie's wife, she was constantly struggling to juggle everything. Enter and her children, it was nearly impossible. She heard a throat clear and turned her head to find none other than Alice Cullen standing behind her. Bella held the trash bag in her arms as she gave Alice a fake smile. Hey Alice. This was definitely not a happy reunion. When Bella first moved to Forks, Alice had been one of her best friends. They did everything together, but once Bella broke up with Alice's brother, Edward, their friendship soured beyond belief. Alice hated her and bullied her constantly. Swan, what do you think you are doing here? Alice sneered and Bella gulped before clutching the bag tighter. Same thing as everyone else, I guess. How are you? Edward said you were accepted to UW. Congratulations. Alice's eyes narrowed, contorting her beautiful face with hatred. You should be ashamed to show your face in this town after what you did. Bella couldn't believe that Alice still held this grudge against her. She didn't do anything wrong and she wasn't sure why this was such a big deal to her. Alice, I know you are sore at me, but we used to be really close. The Cullen girl huffed. Yeah, what a horrific mistake that was. She snapped and Bella flinched. Alice, what are you talking about? What did I do? She asked, wanting to mend the broken friendship. What did you do? I'll tell you what you did, you little skank. Bella was hurt to her core that Alice could call her this of all things. You with your big doe eyes and perfect little face dragged my brother in, twisted his head up, then kicked him to the curb like last week's takeout. Bella was confused. She didn't recall doing anything to Edward or his head. I'm sorry, but I don't understand. You turned him into what he is, you little whore. Bella gasped. The Cullens were a strict Roman Catholic family that believed it was wrong to be gay, and one of their sons was gay. Alice had taken it upon herself to blame the last girl, for all Alice knew, that he ever dated. Alice, I don't know what you think happened, but I didn't do anything to Edward. I never even had sex with him. Alice growled at her. And there lies the problem. All you had to do was lay down and take it like the little bitch you are, but no, you refused, and now my brother is damaged." Bella became fearful as Alice stood before her, anger rolling off of her. "All because of you." With a swift kick of her foot, Alice pushed Bella into the pool. She was so full of immeasurable rage that she didn't realize that they were at the shallow end of the pool. Bella shrieked as she hit the water, and the back of her head slammed into the concrete steps, rendering her unconscious. "Oh, God. What have I done?" Alice covered her mouth with disbelief as the water started to redden and the clear water around Bella turned pink. Jacob stood in the kitchen as Embry and Angela walked in. "Have you fixed your shit yet?" Embry asked and Jacob shrugged. "Working on it." Angela huffed. "You aren't working on shit. You need to talk to her and not bend her over the second you get a chance." Jacob's eyes narrowed at Angela's little statement. "Where is Bella?" he inquired and Embry nodded towards the back door. "She didn't come in with everyone else so I assume she's still out back. It's not like she could have left." Jacob nodded and patted Embry's back with appreciation before he made his way to the door. "Here goes nothing." He grumbled to himself before he opened the door, walking outside. The yard was halfway picked up which brought a smile to his face. Bella was always thinking of others. He was confused when he didn't see Bella, only some petite girl with a bob haircut knelt next to the pool, horror written on her face. He walked closer and suddenly he looks into the pool and saw splashes of white, black, and tan at the bottom of the pool, with a pink discoloration to the water around it. "Where's Bella?" He spoke and a sob left the girl's lips. "I didn't mean to." She shrieked from the horror of what she had done. It clicked in his head what was at the bottom of the pool. He didn't think, just reacted. He jumped into the pool and swam quickly to the bottom, finding Bella lying on the cement bottom, still. He quickly grabbed her in his arms and quickly pushed himself to the surface with a loud gasp for air. Bella laid limp in his arms, her chest still. He started to freak out as he got her out of the pool and jumped out himself. The blood was still pooling out of the laceration at the back of her head. He pushed the wet hair out of her face and she was still unmoved. "Bella. Come on, baby." He started to do chest compressions on her as he looked to the girl who watched with fear in her eyes. "Get help, now." He commanded and she instantly complied, sprinting into the house. "We need a doctor." Alice yelled as she entered the loud house, but no one could hear her over the game going on. She quickly caught sight of Angela and remembered that her and Bella were friends. She ran over to her with panic written on her face. "Alice? What's wrong?" A small sob left her lips. "It's Bella. She needs a doctor, now." She fell into the pool and hit her head. Angela quickly raced to fetch Sue. Jacob was frightened. Here she was, the girl he loved, and her life was hanging on by a thread. "Come on, baby. Breathe, please." The door slammed open as the whole party raced outside, Sue, Charlie, and Angela in front of everyone else. "Bella." Her father was frantic as Sue sat next to Jacob, checking Bella's pupils. "Come on." Jacob groaned as he pushed a breath of air into Bella's mouth. Just as he did a third breath, her chest convulsed momentarily. Jacob quickly pulled back as Bella coughed, a lung full of water spraying out her mouth. She coughed a few times as everyone calmed down, relief filling that yard. Jacob stroked her hair as she opened her eyes, only seeing his perfect, cinnamon eyes gazing down into hers. "Jake." He breathed a sigh of relief as she spoke and he pressed his forehead to hers. "Thank God you're okay." He breathed out and she ran her fingers through his drenched hair. "I love you." Relief and joy rushed through her as he said this to her in front of everyone. "I love you." She pressed her mouth to his and only Angela felt how romantic that moment was. It was their first time telling each other that they loved one another. Enough with the mushy, lovey-dovey crap. Sue moved closer to Bella as the young woman released the kiss from her bow. "Lay back down." Jacob helped Bella lay down on the concrete as Charlie escorted their guests out the front of the house. Now Bella was alive, but that didn't mean she was out of the woods. "Someone get me a clean towel." Angela grabbed one off the closest chair that was still dry and clean. Sue snatched it before placing it under Bella's head. "Sweetie, how are you feeling right now?" Bella groaned as Sue took her pulse which was slightly elevated. "Woozy. My head is spinning and it hurts. So does my throat." Bella gulped before hissing at the pain in her head. It wasn't like a sinus headache, but much deeper in her brain. "How many fingers am I holding up?" Sue flashed 2 fingers and Bella blinked a few times struggling to focus. 1, 2, 6. Bella closed her eyes again and Sue slapped her cheek. "Don't you dare even think about passing out. I think you might have a concussion. No matter how tired you feel, you need to stay awake." Bella groaned before trying to stand up. "What are you doing?" "Lay back down, silly girl." Jacob stood up in case Bella needed him and her feet wobbled. "I'm fine, Mom. I just need to go home." Bella went to take a step and Jacob quickly caught her as she started to fall. He scooped her up in his arms and she rested her head on his shoulder, drowsily. Bella hadn't called Sue by that name since Sue married Charlie. Bella was not in a good place health-wise and everyone could see it. Bella groaned groggily as Jacob gazed at her worrisome. "I'll take her to the hospital." Jake volunteered himself and the others nodded. "No hospital." Bella weakly protested, but Jacob stood firm. "You're sick. You are going to the hospital." As Jacob walked through the yard, Charlie called after him, "We will meet you there." He completely ignored the comment and ran Bella to his black Audi. Gently, he sat her in the front passenger seat, leaning her head back against the headrest. She quietly protested, trying to hold onto him. He gently pried her hands from around his neck before placing them carefully in her lap. "It's okay, honey. Just relax and don't fall asleep." She groaned as he closed the door. He was in such a hurry to get her to that hospital that he slid across the hood of his car. He urgently climbed in the front seat and turned on the car before she sighed. "I'm so sleepy." She warned him and he grasped her hand in his. "Don't fall asleep, baby. Just talk to me, okay?" She nodded and slowly opened her eyes, gazing at him. "About what?" she inquired and he smirked before speeding off. "Tell me about school." She struggled to focus on his words as she released a long breath. "I wrote a paper." She spoke as he stroked his thumb over her palm. "Oh, yeah? For your writing class?" She nodded before gulping. She was struggling to focus on anything and everything. It was a descriptive papersing the 5 senses, and such me professor she didn't say what to do it on, it was our choice. He nodded with a smirk on his face as she stared at his hand clutching her own. "Really? What did you do it about?" "The Red Room of Pain." He chortled as she said this. "Really? How did your professor react to that?" She took a shaky breath before looking at his face. "She thought I was describing a medieval torture chamber. Turns out, I'm not the only person out of high school that had no clue this kinds of plerums existed." He chortled in amusement. This was entertaining, but his main focus was still on the road. "Did you correct her?" "Like classmates did when she read it aloud." He thought this was hilarious. "That must have been embarrassing. Did anyone ask you how you came up with that idea?" She slowly shook her head as her eyes started to drift. "Luckily, no." Her voice quieted down and he gently shook her hand. "Stay awake, honey. You can't fall asleep yet." She groaned and shook her head. "I'm exhausted. Please, let me sleep." He shook his head. "If you fall asleep, you might never wake up and I'm not taking that chance." He pulled up to the hospital and quickly jumped out. He pulled her into his arms and she buried her face in his neck, a happy smile gracing her lips. "I missed you." He softly chuckled as he rubbed her back, hugging her a little closer. "Same here, Bells. I'm so sorry I pushed you away like that." She took in his scent and focused on it. It was musky, a hint of the ocean along with it. It was purely perfect to her. She missed how amazing he smelled. "Why did you?" she inquired. "Because I realized how strong my feelings were for you and I didn't want to hurt you. I didn't realize that by pushing you away that I was hurting you. I thought I was saving you from pain." "Why?" she questioned further. "Everyone I love ends up in pain because of me. I didn't want that for you." She understood where he was coming from. He pushed her away in protection, not because he didn't want her anymore. She would have done the same in his shoes. "How strong is it that you feel?" She wasn't sure if she should believe what he said to her when she woke up. What if it was just for show because of how many people were around? "I don't want to give you hope for more than what I have to offer by telling you. I know my place. Just tell me. I love you." He blurted out with conviction before pressing his forehead to hers. Her heart swelled from his admission. He did mean it when he said he loved her. "Where does that leave everything?" He chuckled before walking into the hospital. "That's all up to you." Nurses came in and rushed her in the back, forcing Jacob to stay in the waiting room. She was confused by all the commotion. Her vision was swirling, blurred beyond anything she had ever experienced, and she ended up passing out at some point. She woke up, her head feeling clear for the first time in what felt like forever. Her eyes slowly opened and she saw her father sitting beside her. "Dad?" she questioned, confused. Charlie shot up before moving over to her. "Hey, honey. How are you feeling?" She slowly sat up, the tenderness on the back of her head bothering her. "Okay, I guess." "What happened?" Things were fuzzy except her short conversation with Jacob. She wanted to finish talking with him. "You fell into the pool and hit your head on the steps. You had a pretty nasty gash on the back of your head, you lost a lot of blood, and you had a severe concussion." Bella nodded with a sigh. "If it wasn't for that boyfriend of yours, you might not be alive right now. He thought really quick to get you here to the hospital and started CPR as soon as he got you out of the pool." Bella recalled what Jacob had said to her. "I love you." She knew he probably thought it was a show when she said she loved him, too, but it wasn't and she was glad he thought so. She wasn't sure if he was ready to accept her love for him, but he accepted his love for her, which was a step in the right direction. He had been telling her that she was changing him, but she hadn't really seen it until that happened. "Where is Jake?" Charlie smirked. "He had to get to work. You've been out for a few days. He said he would get a hold of you when he could." She wished this would be sooner rather than later. She wanted to have this talk with him, but she would have to wait for it. Bella lounged in the living room of her apartment, working on her next English essay, as Angela strolled in. "What are you doing? You're supposed to be resting." Bella rolled her eyes at this. Angela had been on her case about taking it easy since the incident at the barbecue, but a week had passed. She didn't need to be cooped up in her room any longer. "I have an essay due on Friday that I need to work on." Angela scowled. "Bella, it is Friday." "Next Friday, duh." Belle sipped at her water before continuing to type. Angela strolled over and closed Bella's laptop forcefully. "What the hell?" she protested, and Angela scowled. "Don't think I don't know what you are doing. You are attempting to distract yourself from the fact that Jake hasn't shown himself since the barbecue." Bella groaned and rubbed her face. "So what? It's not that big of a deal. He told my dad he would get a hold of me when he got a chance. He must be really busy." Angela rolled her eyes before taking a seat next to her roommate. Bella knew she was clinging to hope, but that was all she had. Too busy to call or shoot a text. Bella couldn't think of a retort and sighed in defeat. "Bella, he is too unstable for a relationship. You need to just move on. I know you love him and he loves you, but sometimes love just isn't enough for a relationship to work." Bella knew Angela was right, but something in her gut told her not to give up on Jacob just yet. She relaxed into the couch before rubbing her face with frustration. How could she possibly explain the way she was feeling to Angela without sounding crazy? She couldn't figure out a way. "How about this? We are going to go out tonight with Tyler, Lauren, and Jessica to celebrate your recovery from your injuries. You need to relax and forget about Jacob Black for at least one night." Bella wanted to protest, but she knew it wasn't a good idea. She did need a distraction, and this would be a good one. Angela and Bella got dressed in party dresses before Angela started to apply Bella's makeup. Just as she finished, the doorbell rang and Angela bounced over as Bella struggled to slip on her black heels. Angela came back with a small wrapped package with a note. Angela started to read it aloud. "A glooming peace this morning with it brings. The sun, for sorrow, will not show his head. Go hence, to have more talk of these sad things. Some shall be pardoned, and some punished." Bella finished the quote for her. "For never was a story of more woe." It's a quote from Romeo and Juliet. Angela handed over the package, and Bella recognized Jacob's handwriting. Her heart sped up as she tore the package and found an old copy of her favorite book. "Oh, my God." She flipped to the first page before gasping. "Holy fuck. It's a first edition of Romeo and Juliet." Angela didn't look fazed by this, and Bella groaned. "Do you have any idea how rare this book is at this age? It was printed in the late 1800s, ang. It's gotta be worth thousands of dollars. It's in perfect condition, too." She flipped the pages and a smile crossed her face. "Jake." She whispered his name and found an index card at the back of the book. "I miss you. It's been hectic. I really want to see you this weekend. Give me a call." She smiled happily to herself before setting the book down on the coffee table. She hated expensive gifts like this, but it proved that she hadn't been waiting around for nothing. He wanted them to finish the talk they had started at the hospital before she was rushed away. "Hey. Remember, forget about him for tonight. You can deal with Mr. Mysterious tomorrow. Right now, we are having a friend's night out." Bella cleared the love-struck thoughts in her head and left the apartment with Angela. Bella wanted to stay at home and call Jacob, but Angela wasn't going to let her. The only good thing was she would get to have some fun with her friends. Bella smiled as she sat at a booth with her friends, and they all were joking around. They were at the bar around the corner from the college that also had a dance floor. You could tell this place was built just for college kids. There was loud teeny bopper music booming through the speakers and a bunch of college kids grinding against each other on the dance floor. Bella had more than her share to drink, and it was from her nerves. She was anxious to talk to Jacob about where they went from then on. His new gift was extravagant like always, but it left her heart feeling more confident in his love for her. In a way, they were like Romeo and Juliet. If others knew the truth about their relationship, others in her life would make it impossible for her to be with him. He was forever the dom and she, the sweet, innocent college girl, was his sub. Even though she would need to enter another contract, this is how she saw herself. She was his and he was hers, even if only in their hearts right then. "I'm gonna go to the bathroom." Bella excused herself in the middle of Tyler, explaining this song he was struggling to write. She strolled with a sway to her steps to the facilities, but saw a big line. She stood, leaned against a wall, and her mind wandered. She had the idea to call Jacob since she wasn't around Angela and she probably had a long wait ahead of her. What Angela didn't know would hurt her. Bella pulled out her phone and found Jacob's number in the address book. She pressed the send button and put the phone to her ear. It took a few rings, but she got an answer. "Hello?" She heard his husky, deep voice, and a smile graced her face. "Hey. I got your package." Bella responded with a relaxed voice, and she heard his soft chuckle. "I figured as much since you actually called. I figured you would just text me." "Yeah, but since I'm not bound by a contract, I can't accept the gift. I already have my own copy anyways." Her voice started to slur at the end of the sentence, and the sound silenced him for a moment. "Bella, are you drunk?" "Yup. You can blame Angela. She thought I needed to forget and have fun like any other college student. I never knew someone could get drunk off only a tall glass of rum. I guess you could say I'm a lightweight." She laughed to herself. There was no reason for this to be funny and he didn't see it that way, either. He knew she was completely plastered. "Where are you?" "Some bar near my school with Angela and my other friends." She replied, her speech breaking a little. "Tell me exactly what bar and I will come get you." She giggled to herself. She really wanted to see him, but she didn't want to see the wrath of Angela Weber for her personal knight in shining armor coming to her rescue. "Not necessary. Bye, master." She teased him with one of his dom names and hung up the phone. When she relaxed against the wall she was waiting at, panic overwhelmed her. What if her hanging up on him pissed him off? What if he wanted to punish her even though she wasn't bound by the contract anymore? Her nerves were killing her. Her phone started going off and she saw Jacob's name across the screen. "I'm sorry, Jake. I shouldn't have," she started, but he quickly interrupted her. "I'm coming to get you right now. Don't leave that bar." Then, the line went dead. Confusion filled her, but she pushed it to the side to experience her joy. She was going to get to see Jacob. Of course, Angela would be pissed, but she could just say it was pure coincidence that he showed up at that bar. He did work in Port Angeles. It wouldn't be a stretch to say he could wander into the same bar as them. It took a long time to get to go to the bathroom. She quickly relieved herself and washed her hands. Her head was starting to feel light, her mind getting foggy, and she slowly stumbled out of the bathroom. She slowly squeezed her way through the crowd. Some people protested and others just looked at her confused as she weaseled her way towards the front door. She was relieved to feel the crisp, cool air surround her. She was starting to feel a little feverish, and this told her that she had too much to drink. She would definitely have a hangover in the morning. She had never experienced one because she never let herself get past a slight buzz, but Angela wanted her to let loose, so she did. She felt a warm hand on her shoulder and turned to find Tyler by her side. "Hey Ty." He gave her a big smile. "Hey Belle." He held up her jacket and she smiled. "Thanks, but I don't need it. I think I had a little too much to drink. I'm feeling all hot right now. The cool air feels good." He rolled his eyes and forced the jacket up her arms. She was too intoxicated to be annoyed by this behavior or his unwillingness to take her word for it. "Thanks." She groaned and slowly noticed that he placed his arms around her waist. She looked to him confused. "What are you doing?" He gave her a smile that any other woman would have found to be dazzling, but she just found it bewildering. Why would Tyler Crowley suddenly think it was acceptable to be holding her like she was his girlfriend? "Normally, I wouldn't have the balls to do this." She was still confused when he placed his hand affectionately on her cheek. "I like you, Bella." It clicked to her and she felt a little panicked. "Oh, no." He chuckled, not seeing that she was trying to turn him down. "Yeah, I really like you. I have for a long time." She shook her head, trying to push him away, but he was stronger than her. "Come here." He went to try to kiss her and she pushed more, turning her face away. "Stop, Ty." "No." She frowed and he was about to kiss her when she screamed. "Let me go." Then, a knight in shining armor, a dark figure from the street, pushed Tyler away from her, causing the man to stumble back. Bella hugged her chest as this man stood in front of her. "What the fuck is wrong with you?" She said no. She quickly recognized the voice of her savior and relaxed. "Jacob." He turned his head to her and she took in his angry, dark features, a danger about his presence, but she was just happy to see him. She felt her stomach turn and quickly threw up on the street. She didn't notice that Jacob came up and grabbed her hair to keep her from getting her bodily fluids in it. Tyler quickly became very grateful that Jacob had come along. He definitely didn't want Bella Swan to throw up in his mouth. That would have just been gross. "Sorry you had to see me puke," Bella said as she stopped throwing up. "Don't apologize for that." He still held her hair until she stood up and her step slightly swayed. He quickly wrapped his arms around her to keep her from falling and she smiled as she rested her face against his chest. "For someone who claims not to be a hero, you sure have a hard time not acting like one." He scoffed at her ridiculousness. This girl was definitely something else. Even when he was 20 years old, he never knew a woman her age that would let herself get so drunk that she couldn't defend herself in something as harmless as what had transpired. "I'm gonna get you out of here." She looked up at him and she felt like her head was spinning. "But, Angela." She trailed off and he shook his head. "Embry is inside with her right now." He let her know. Bella clung to his arms as she started to feel a little lightheaded. "I'm starting to get lightheaded. I think I'm gonna pass out." He nodded, understanding her issue, and picked her up in his arms. Her head laid against his shoulder as he rubbed her back and her arms clung around his neck. She missed his touch, how wonderful it felt to be in his arms. She had been missing this for what felt like an eternity, and she craved it. The last time she remembered him holding her like this was the last time they played in the playroom. He did this to her every time they finished in his playroom. He would walk her to their room and they would enjoy a nice warm bath together. The only thing she could hear was his heart and his breathing. It was calming, comforting. When he reached his car, she was already asleep in his arms. She looked so beautiful. He had missed seeing her like this, relaxed the way she did in his arms. It almost made him forget how angry he was with her. He couldn't believe she would put herself in such a place to have someone she considered a good friend try to assault her like that. Sure, Tyler didn't rape her, but he tried to force a kiss on her, and who knew if he would have stopped there. That should have been considered assault, right? He was glad she called him in her drunken stupor, or who knows what could have happened to her. He opened his passenger door and slid her into his car before putting her seatbelt on her. She didn't wake up or even make any noise or movement at him placing her in the seat. He moved her arms from around his neck and placed them in her lap. He got into the driver's seat and drove to the closest hotel he could find, which wasn't far from the bar at all. He parked his car, leaving her inside, and strolled to the entrance of La Quinta. He found a young blonde girl at the front desk who sent him a big smile as he walked in. He was used to this type of greeting. It wasn't the kind of sweet smile that was a welcoming gesture. It was the kind that said this girl found him attractive. He wasn't interested in the slightest. She wore too much makeup, had the ugliest hairstyle he had ever seen on anyone before, and she wasn't his type and body style either. Not that any of this mattered. The only woman he wanted was in his car, passed out drunk. "Welcome to La Quinta. How can I help you?" He kept his face stern like any respectable businessman would. "I need a room for me and my girlfriend." He didn't like how this girl was staring at him and he wanted her to stop without being rude. Her face dropped before searching on her computer. "We only have a single available. Would that be alright?" He nodded and handed her his license and credit card. She quickly checked him in and gave him a key card. He raced out of there, grabbed Bella, and went up to the room on the third floor. He struggled to open the door with Bella in his arms, but managed after a minute. There was a large bed, recliner, kitchen table, microwave, TV, dresser, and bathroom. He quickly sat her down in the recliner before pulling out his phone. This whole situation was ridiculous, and he would only go through this for Isabella Swan. He dialed Quill's number before putting the phone to his ear. "Hey, boss. What's up?" He groaned. Bella got herself completely plastered and some guy tried to put his hands on her. This was all he needed to say for Quill to know how livid he was with this situation. "Fuck, that's terrible. I need your help." "What do you need, boss?" Bella groaned as her head throbbed violently. Her mind was foggy and she wasn't sure exactly what happened. She tried to focus so she could piece together what had happened the night before. She remembered receiving that sweet little package from Jacob with the Romeo and Juliet quote. She remembered going to that club with Angela, Lauren, Jessica, and Tyler. She remembered laughing and cracking jokes with her friends for hours on end. She remembered calling Jacob and him worrying about her drunken state. Odd, it was stupid to drink so much. She should have just stuck with her usual margarita. She usually only had one then it was over. It left her with just a light buzz. She remembered walking outside for some fresh air and being met by Tyler. It pissed her off that he had the gall to try to kiss her. She wished she had been sober so she could have kneed him in the groin for such a stupid act. She then remembered Jacob showing up to save the day, then it was all blank. Jacob. She thought his name before her eyes snapped open and she sat up. The sudden motion sent sharp pains through her head, but they died down after a moment. She looked around at her surrounding and didn't recognize anything. She was in a hotel room, that was obvious, but she had no recollection of how she got there. She looked down at herself and found she wasn't wearing her party dress from the night before, but just a white tank top and some panties that were different from the ones she wore the night before. What the fuck? She took another look around and took notice of something on the nightstand next to her. It was a glass of some mixture that was blood red with a card next to it in Jacob's handwriting. "Drink me." She smiled to herself before she grabbed the glass and took a sip. It tasted like tomato juice, but had a little bit of a citrus taste to it. She gulped down the big glass. She trusted Jacob. She knew he wouldn't tell her to drink something if he didn't think it would help. She sat down the empty glass and picked up the card before flipping it over. There was another small note on the back of it. Be back shortly. Jake. Suddenly, the door to the hotel room opened and she was greeted by Jacob walking in. He wore a white t-shirt and a pair of black exercise pants, along with some white tennis shoes. No matter what he wore, she always thought he looked so sexy. Morning. His voice was low and heavy. She gave him a small, shy smile before setting down the card. Good morning. He huffed before she noticed a brown bag in his hand, along with a brown and white disposable coffee cup in his other hand. He took a sip from his cup before handing the bag over to her and went to sit in the recliner. I highly doubt it's been a good morning for you. She gulped and nodded before looking in the bag he gave her. He had brought her breakfast, a sausage, ham and cheese bagel, just how she liked it. This sweet gesture made her smile. Definitely wasn't expecting to spend my Saturday morning having a hangover. She sat the bag off to the side as he sipped his coffee. Where are my clothes, Jacob? He rolled his eyes before sitting up straight. Will took them to be dry cleaned for you. She felt very unsettled by this. How did I get in these clothes? She asked with a low voice. I changed you and cleaned you up. You were very much asleep. You couldn't exactly do it yourself. He didn't seem ashamed by this at all, which was amazing to her. So you stayed here with me last night? He nodded and she took a deep breath. And where did you sleep? He nodded next to her and her heart swelled. He wasn't bound by his precious contract, but he still slept with her. Her body felt a little strange and she wasn't sure why. Did we have sex last night? She asked before looking up at him, and he scoffed. Nope. I already told you that I'm not into necrophilia. I wouldn't disrespect you like that, even if you asked for it while you were drunk. She nodded. She respected him for this. She already idolized him in so many ways, and this just added another thing to her list of why he was so amazing. He really slept next to me and nothing happened. This was unbelievable to her. She remembered she would sometimes wake up when she spent the night with him, and he would be rubbing his hands on her body to wake her up to assist him in getting rid of his morning wood. She was more than willing to help. She was eager too. It was a novelty for me, too. He flashed her a small smile before he frowned. You put yourself in a dangerous situation last night. His voice was almost a warning. You have no idea what could have happened to you if I hadn't shown up when I did. She shook her head before rubbing her face. Tyler wouldn't have hurt me. He was drunk. He probably doesn't even remember what happened. She defended her friend, but she did agree with Jacob. It was a bad situation. Don't defend him. Jacob was agitated by the whole situation. He shouldn't have had to go to her rescue. She flinched a little from his harsh tone, and he groaned. You have absolutely no idea what could have happened. She knew he was right. Why are you so mad? Nothing bad happened. Yeah, it could have been a bad situation, but I'm fine. His fists and jaw clenched at her question before he looked her in the eye, his stare possessing a dangerous edge. I'm mad because the Dom in me wants to punish you to the point that you couldn't walk for a week. She recalled that he had told her that he would only use pleasurable torture as punishment, but with him so angry, she wasn't so sure it would be that way if she let him punish her this time. Well, I'm not bound by a contract right now so you can't. She reminded him. He didn't need the reminder. It was the only reason he hadn't bent her over and whipped her with his belt for her behavior. He wasn't going to make a remark though. You need to eat. He pressed her and she looked to the brown bag. Yeah, she knew she should, but she couldn't stomach eating just yet. I'm not hungry. He nodded and sat down his coffee before he walked over to her. Come on. He extended his hand to her and she was reluctant to take it. She wasn't sure what he wanted from her now. She placed her hand in his and he helped her out of the bed. He strolled with her to the bathroom where he shut the door. Jacob turned to her, his eyes softer, and wrapped his arms around her. Bella. She gulped and nodded as he pressed his forehead to hers. I was angry because I can't stand the thought of something terrible happening to you. She relaxed a little and he placed a sweet kiss on her forehead. I'm going to ask something of you that I've never asked for from anyone. Her eyes moved back to his now sweet, affectionate gaze before giving him a small smile. What would that be? He suddenly looked nervous as he took a deep breath. I want to change the relationship we had some. She felt hope rise within her for a real relationship with him, not his version of a dom sub relationship. I want to collar you. She was instantly confused by this request. Collar? What's that? He smirked at her so sweetly. It's a sign in the dom sub relationship that shows everyone that you are mine and I am devoted to being with you for as long as possible. It shows that you trust me and accept me completely as I do you. Her heart pounded from his explanation. To her, he might as well been asking her to marry him. This was something huge. He had always been so private about their relationship and this, his desire to collar her, was exposing his devotion to her for others to see. Would you let me collar you, Bella? She gave a small smile and nodded. That's something you wouldn't even need to ask. He let out a sigh of relief and hugged her close to him. She embraced the warmth that encased her. She had missed him holding her like this. "That's not all I have to ask of you." She looked back up at him and he stroked her hair lovingly. "I want our relationship to be full-time now." She was a little taken aback by this request. "How exactly would that work?" "I want you to move in with me." Nervousness filled her at his request. Move in with him? This was not what she was expecting. "What?" "I want you to live with me in my house in La Push." He explained further and her breath slowly released. "Jake, I have school in Port Angeles and that's also where my job is." She tried to rationalize this with him. "You would go with me in the helicopter every morning and night." He justified it. "But you only go to your house on the weekend." He smirked and cupped her face in his hands. "Ella, if you were there with me, I would have a reason to go home every night. I would be there to care for all your needs and desires. As a dom, I just want to take care of you and have you as my own. As my sub, I would be completely yours and be there whenever you need me. The contract would need to be changed a lot, but this is what I want. I want to have a 24/7 relationship with you. Say yes, Bells." He used her nickname, which he knew would get him what he wanted because of how sweet it always sounded coming from his lips, and she sighed. "But, what about Angela? I'm her roommate and I don't think she can handle the rent all by herself." Belle whined and Jacob thought it was so cute, he smirked. "I'm sure we can figure something out about that situation. Just, please, say yes." He never begged for anything, and that just made this that much more special to her. "Yes." She smiled up at him and he relaxed noticeably. She thought he might kiss her for agreeing to this, but he didn't. He smiled down at her. "I really want to kiss you, but you did vomit a lot last night." No wonder he wouldn't kiss her. She had completely forgotten that she did get sick once he arrived at the bar. "Oh." She blushed and bit her lip. His eyes instantly darkened and he pulled her body flush against his. "You know what biting that lip does to me." He spoke so seductively. Her panties were instantly twisted. "Is there a toothbrush I can use?" She asked, backing away a little, and he chuckled, pointing at the counter. She saw a small grocery bag and this just confused her. Did he leave in the night after putting her to bed? "Everything you will need to clean up. I'll wait in the room while you freshen up." She nodded and gave him a small smile as he exited. She couldn't believe it. He wanted to be with her full time, having her live with him, and he wanted everyone to know that she was all his. Nothing could top this, she was sure. She didn't know if she was cleaning up to leave or just to be able to hang out with him some. She decided to prepare herself to the latter option. She emptied out the contents of the bag and found a toothbrush, toothpaste, mouthwash, a hairbrush, and a bar of unscented soap. She brushed her teeth first, doing it several times to get rid of all the disgusting tastes in her mouth before she peeled off her clothes and sat them on the ground under the sink. She grabbed a washcloth, wet it, and rubbed the bar of soap on it. She washed her arms, torso, and legs before rinsing. She knew she wouldn't need to clean between her legs since she took a shower the night before. She grabbed a towel and wrapped it around her before she brushed out her hair. She felt way better after that. She took a deep breath before opening the door, entering the room where she found Jacob sitting on the edge of the bed. His eyes along with the tent in his pants showed how aroused he was and all for her. It would have been a moot point to put back on those clothes. She tried to explain, but his arousal didn't waver. He stood to his feet and moved to her. He quickly kissed her, passion flowing to her, and he ripped the towel from her naked damp body. His hands palmed her ass as he pressed his erection against her. She moaned when he did this. When he pulled out of the kiss, she was about to tell him that they couldn't have sex yet. "From this point on, when we have sex in or out of the playroom." He paused and she nodded for him to continue. "You will not speak unless I tell you to. You will not moan or make any of those cute little noises you make unless I tell you that you can. You will not move unless I tell you to. You will not look in my direction unless I tell you that you can. This is all part of you learning your own control and it will increase your pleasure. If you don't follow those rules, I will spank you and not the way you like me to. I will spank you just hard enough that it won't bring you any pleasure." She struggled to suppress a moan but nodded instead. He quickly pushed her onto the bed. She was surprised by the sudden move. He looked upon her with such arousal as he kicked off his shoes and pulled his shirt over his head. Her eyes trained on his hands as he pushed his pants to the ground. She got more drenched from the sight of him. It took everything in her not to get on her knees and suck that pleasuring cock of his until he came. "Jacob, she started to tell him that she wasn't on her birth control anymore, but he silenced her by slapping her ass hard. She yelped from the sudden sting. "I didn't give you permission to speak. You trust me, don't you? Now, you may speak." She nodded as she bit her lip. "Then, stay silent. There is no need for you to speak until I tell you to. When I tell you to talk, you will not call me by my first name while we are doing this. Do you understand? You may speak." She took a deep breath as she kept her eyes trained on his cock that he was now pumping with his hand. "What shall I call you then?" she asked and he chuckled. "You should call me master, my little pet." Pet. She liked how that came off his tongue. "Lay back and hold your legs apart." She did as he asked and he moved over her. She turned her head to the side so she wouldn't be tempted to look at him. "Tell me who you belong to, my pet." He whispered in her ear before kissing down her neck, massaging her hip erotically. "You, master." She whispered back as he teased her clit with his tip. She had never struggled so much to keep from making any noise as she did then. "Does all of you belong to me, my pet? Answer me." He growled in her ear and she panted from how aroused she was by him. He never said anything about her regulating her breathing. "All of me, master." He groaned as he pressed his length inside of her. She bit her tongue as she clawed at the sheets above her head. "Even your orgasms? You may speak." She struggled to hold in her moans as he pressed himself inside of her to the hilt. He had never pressed himself this deep inside of her and it felt so amazing. Her stomach was tingling from the pressure. "Yes, master." He growled in her ear, running his tongue along her earlobe. "That means I control your orgasms. You better not come until I say you can." "Are you serious?" She wasn't sure if she would be able to hold out when it approached, but she would try for him. "Not if you understand." She did as he asked and he moderately bit her neck, running his tongue over the mark he left. "That's my girl. I'm going to make you feel so good that you will be begging for me to let you orgasm." She couldn't stop the whimper that left her lips. He quickly smacked her bottom before massaging it. "I didn't say you could make noise. No matter how much I love to listen to you moan and scream my name, you will not do it until I say you can." He started to pound into her. She struggled to quiet herself. She wasn't usually very loud, but hell, she hadn't had sex since the last time they were together and her senses were on overdrive. She wanted to scream, moan, scratch at him, and beg him to make her orgasm. His legs slammed into her over and over as she struggled to hold out a release. She squinted as he worked himself in her. "You missed this, didn't you? Speak." She let out a deep breath that she had been holding before panting. "Yes." He grunted before he took one of her breasts into his mouth, licking and biting at her sweet little pebble. "You are being such a good little pet. I expected to be spanking you every second of this, but you are being so quiet. Do you want to orgasm, my sweet? Tell me." He moved back to her ear and licked the outer edge which made her shiver. "Yes, please, master." She arched towards him as he slammed into her, over and over, grazing her clit with each movement. "Then, let go and scream and moan all you want." She released the tightening of her muscles and her orgasm exploded, much more intense than what she had felt ever before. She screamed out as he swirled his hips purposefully. "Yes, yes, yes, yes." She screamed and moaned for him and he never thought she could look so sexy as she did right then. She felt like crawling out of her skin and the sensation was driving her crazy. As soon as her orgasm ceased, he pulled out of her and started to stroke himself again. "On your hands and knees, now." She slowly moved to the position he commanded out of her. She always loved it when he fucked her doggy style. He got so much deeper and he always acted like the alpha male he was when he fucked her like that. "Good girl. Do you have any idea how amazing your ass is? Speak." She bit her lip since he couldn't see her and smiled to herself. "No, master." He lightly chuckled and slapped her ass pleasurably. "You have no idea how much I want to fuck your ass, but you did put that down as one of your hard limits. I really wish it wasn't though." She couldn't believe that he had this fascination with her ass and this was the first time she was hearing about it. She made a mental note to herself to let him try it just once since he wanted to so badly. She would endure the pain to make him happy. He slammed his length back into her tight little pussy and started back in on her, giving her pleasurable slaps on her ass, just how she liked it. She really wanted to scream and moan from how amazing it felt, but she wasn't sure if, when he said she could scream, he meant the rest of him fucking her. "You're not enjoying yourself, my pet." She bent her head down to the mattress, pressing her forehead to the comforter and gripped tight on his thigh. She scratched along his leg as he sped up his pace. "Is that how you want it?" She nodded quickly and he slapped her ass again, grunting. "I told you that you can moan all you want and I meant it." She let out a loud pleasured scream as she released his leg and clawed at the blanket beneath her. "Oh, phew." She cried out and he slapped her ass in a way that wasn't pleasurable to her. "I didn't say you could speak." He snapped harshly before gripping her hips, ramming himself into her, pounding through her clenching walls, his thrusts going into overdrive. She mewed with each hard thrust as her body bobbed against the comforter. His body moved over hers and he bit into her neck, continuing his domination of her heavenly center. "Tell me how bad you want it," he demanded from her as his forehead pressed against her shoulder. "Master, I wanted." She always told him when they had sex how bad she wanted him and how much she wanted to get a release. She figured this was what he meant by his demand. She thought nothing of it. Yeah, I bet you do, my sweet little ug. He groaned loudly in her ear and she gasped. She would recognize the sound he made anywhere. There was only one circumstance in which he made this noise and she was fearful of this. Please, tell me you didn't just coom. She freaked out on the inside as he held her hips in place and thrusted a few more times into her before relaxing. Odd, yeah. I definitely missed that, baby. He pulled out of her and she could feel that he was limp when he extracted himself. She cursed to herself internally before rolling over to her side. How was that? He sat down on the bed next to her and she gazed at his carefree face. He looked so happy. She hated to ruin his mood, but she couldn't just hide this from him. I can't believe you just did that. He chuckled before smirking down at her. He laid down next to her and pulled her into his arms. Did what? She gulped before returning her eyes to his. You just came inside me. He snickered before kissing her sweetly on the lips. I do that every time we have sex, babe. He took note of her solemn expression and his soured as well. He couldn't understand why she looked upset about this. What's the problem? Why is it suddenly an issue that I came inside of you? She gulped before she said what she had already tried to tell him multiple times. Because I stopped taking my birth control. He was shocked by this then angered. How could she do something like this? She knew how he felt about having kids and yet she did this anyways. What? He sat up and looked stern at her, his hard mask showing. I stopped taking. She tried to say it again, but he groaned. I heard what you said. He warned her with his tone before standing up and pulling back on his pants. Why would you do that? You know exactly how I feel about that. I know. Don't you think I feel crappy about it? I tried to tell you at the barbecue, I tried to tell you before we started having sex, I even tried when we were having sex, but each time you interrupted me. His eyes showed how livid he was with her about this. I'm not blaming you. I just wasn't thinking about it except for when it was an issue. I know there is no way you could have known that I stopped taking it. I'm not trying to trap you or whatever you might be thinking. I'm just trying to be honest with you. His eyes still didn't soften, but his fist stopped clenching. She was glad for at least this. Why would you stop taking it? Tears filled her eyes as she sat up and looked down at her hands in her lap. It hurt to think of the reason she did. You didn't want me anymore. It came out a whisper, low and sad, and his anger completely dissipated. You released me from the contract. I only started taking it for periods in high school, but they were fine, and I didn't see myself wanting to be with anyone else for a long time, so I stopped taking it. That probably doesn't make any sense to you. She hugged her arms around her chest as more tears filled her eyes. His heart ached from seeing with his own eyes what his own actions had done to the woman he loved. He never wanted to hurt her, let alone to this magnitude. She was perfect in his eyes and in every way, but she didn't see herself the way he did. His dismissal made her self-esteem that much worse. He knew then that their separation must have been just as much of hell on her as it was on him. She rarely let her vulnerability show, but now, he could see clear as day that she was just as much attached to him and dependent on him as he was on her. "Els," he whispered before squatting down in front of her. His hand smoothed up her legs before tucking the hairs in her face behind her ear. "Hey, look at me." She lifted her eyes a little, and his heart ached from the glisten of tears in her eyes. "It's okay. I'm right here and I'm never making that stupid mistake again, I promise." Her body relaxed as he said this to her. He cupped her cheek and stroked it affectionately. "Why did you?" she asked, and he was about to reiterate his answer when they talked on the way to the hospital. "I know it wasn't just how you feel about me. I need to know why, Jake." She begged him to answer her, and he sighed before pressing his forehead to hers. "Anyone I have ever loved, my parents, Rebecca, even my friends, have been hurt because of me. I couldn't stand the thought of you being hurt because of me. Of everyone else in my life, you're the most important person." He took a deep breath as she placed her hand over his, encouraging him to finish. "It took me releasing you from the contract to realize that I'm too damn selfish to be able to stand being without you even for your own good. I tried to be selfless with you and it didn't last long at all. It lasted about 2 days and then I couldn't take it anymore. What broke my resolve was you giving back everything I gave you. You're the only one I want and I am too selfish to give you up." More tears welled up in her eyes, but they were happy tears. Now, she knew they needed and wanted each other the same. Every single moment without him was painful, excruciating. It was like, when he left her, he took her heart with him and you can't live without your heart. She knew this was unhealthy, how dependent they were on each other, but she also didn't care. Jacob Black was the only man she wanted, whether their feelings were supernaturally consuming or not. She couldn't ever see herself wanting another man the way she did him. "Jake." She urgently kissed him, such raw affection flowing between their locked lips, and he pushed her down on the bed, moving over her. He continued to kiss her for a minute, but to them, it felt like forever. He pulled out of the kiss and stared down at her for a minute. "We will fix this, okay?" She nodded and he pressed his forehead to hers. He drew in a slow breath before kissing her forehead. "Why don't you take a shower and I'm going to run to the store really quick." She didn't want to leave his side. She had missed him so much. She didn't care if he was just ignoring her, fucking her, or talking to her. She just wanted to be near him. "Why can't I come with you?" She whined and he smirked at her. He loved how she wanted to be with him constantly. He also thought the tone she used was adorable. "Because you need to take a shower and try to get as much of my cum out of you as you can." She knew this wasn't going to do a whole lot of good, but she wasn't going to challenge him. They just had a wonderful moment and she didn't want to ruin it. "Okay." He let her up and she started to walk to the bathroom when he grabbed her by her waist and pulled her back into his chest. She gasped at the feeling of his hard warm body pressed against hers. "When we take care of this problem." He whispered seductively in her ear before rubbing his hands over her flat stomach. "We are going to spend the rest of the day in this bed." He grabbed one of her legs, pressing her knee to her side, before his other hand rubbed her succulent peach between her legs. She leaned back into him and moaned as he groaned. "I'm going to fuck you so hard." He thrusted his hips against her ass and she clung to his hands as she moaned. "You're going to know exactly what it's like to be fucked for 3 hours straight. If my dick's not working on you, my mouth will be. You will be screaming the whole time and I don't want you to hold any of it in. I want you to tell me how much you enjoy it when I fuck you. You are going to be thoroughly sore when I'm done fucking you today." He had always had such a problem with cursing, she was surprised those words left his mouth without the slightest hesitation. It was so hot hearing him talk to her like that. He never did that before. She figured it had to with how long they had been away from each other and the dom in him needed to prove that she was his and only his. "Do you understand, my pet?" She nodded as his thumb teased her clit. "Yes, master." "Ooh, oh, please, give it to me now." He growled in her ear before biting her neck. "You will get it when I say you do, Isabella." She always hated her full first name, but the way it rolled off his tongue in his dom voice was so sexy. "Yes, master." He released her and slapped her ass before kissing the back of her head. "Go shower. I'll be back shortly." She slowly walked to the bathroom and closed herself in. He stared at the bathroom door for a minute while he tried to calm down his arousal. He remembered when he first showed her the contract, how she thought this was all one-sided. This first impression was ridiculous to him. She had thought he was the one with all the power, how wrong she was. It was his sub that had all the power in this. Yes, he made demands of her, but she had the power to deny them. She had the power to set her limits and deny him what he desired from her. He struggled to get dressed and leave the hotel room. He wanted to stay there, but he needed to take care of this issue ASAP. Bella stepped into the warm shower as she felt his semen pouring out of her. He must have cum hard to fill her up that much. This thought made her feel smug, but she quickly reminded herself why this was a bad thing and her anxiety returned. She had no excuse for why she didn't start taking her birth control again after the barbecue. She wished she had. Neither of them would be stressing if she had thought about that. Bella stepped out of the shower and dried herself off before she grabbed the white robe hanging from the door and slipped it on, tying the belt. She emerged from the bathroom and saw Jake was gone. She frowned, wishing he was still there with her. She noticed the bag of food he had bought for her and a smile broke out across her face. "Awesome. I'm starving." She hadn't been hungry before, but her hangover had lifted and she had that unbelievable sex with her dom, so she was needing to refuel. She plopped down on the bed and pulled out the sausage, ham, and cheese bagel. It was strange how well he knew her. Hell, her and Angela had known each other for years and she still asked what she wanted when this very breakfast she had was an option. Not even Charlie knew her as well as Jacob Black. He opened the hotel room door as she was finishing the bagel and snickered to himself as he saw her eating. "Hungry, Bells?" She giggled as he walked over to her, bent down, and gave her a sweet kiss. "After how you fucked me, definitely." He flashed her a smile before he took a seat next to her. "I've got some stuff here for you," he stated as he dangled the large brown paper bag in front of her. "Why am I not surprised? You just can't stop yourself from spending money on me, can you?" She teased him a little and he lovingly kissed her cheek which made her blush. He could be so sweet. "Better get used to it, babe." She giggled to herself. "Trust me, I've gotten used to it. Doesn't mean I distaste it any less." He nodded before holding her close, his chin pressed to the top of her head. "Well, as long as I adore you, I'm going to keep spoiling you whenever I feel the need to. This is not spoiling you, though. This was necessary, so stop complaining and open the bag." She giggled, relaxed in his arms, and poured out the bag in front of her. The only thing she recognized in that bag was the huge box of condoms. She picked that up and handed it to him. "That is yours to deal with, sir." She teased him with her voice, and he groaned. "And I will be dealing with that shortly, my pet." She softly moaned as she bit her lip. Why did his voice have to do those things to her? Why did his tone have to shoot a pleasurable jolt to her clit when he used his dom voice? She shook off the effects and grabbed one of the other boxes, reading the front of it. Plan 1 step 1 tablet, 1 step. You got me the morning after pill. He hummed in response. You know these don't always work, right? He nodded against her head before sighing. Which is why I bought another method that both of them together should do the trick. He picked up another box that was pink with little flowers all over it. Ouch. Bella always thought this was a little disgusting. Shooting some cleaning solution up inside you, it just seemed gross to her. This one just has water in it, babe. It's just to clean you out. She relaxed when he said this. Well, that's not so bad. Do you know if you are even ovulating? She gulped and shook her head. My periods haven't been regular since I stopped my birth control, so I could be ovulating, but there is a possibility that I'm not. More than likely, I'm not, but better safe than sorry, right? He completely agreed with her. Let's get this taken care of so we can continue enjoying our morning, shall we? Jake slowly pulled his car into the parking spot that had been reserved for Bella's car before she gave it back to him. That spot was right in front of her bedroom window. Well, soon to be her old bedroom window. Bella was very overwhelmed about telling Angela the news of her moving in with Jake. As of lately, Angela had been the exact opposite of Jake's biggest fan. Though she didn't say it, Bella knew that Angela wished she would just kick him to the curb and move on to someone else, someone she thought deserved Bella. In Angela's mind, Jake had already lost his right to Bella when they broke up and he didn't deserve to ever have her back. Bella didn't see things the same way as Angela. She saw it as her and Jake were exactly perfect for each other, especially after he let her see things through his eyes, even just a little glimpse. Hey. She heard his deep voice and turned her face to look at him. He smirked as he gently squeezed her hand. You okay? She blushed, a little worried about upsetting him with her train of thought, and gave him one of her shy smirks that he loved. Yeah, I'm fine. His eyes showed that he didn't believe this one bit. It's just that Angela isn't exactly going to be happy with me, with us, with any of this. I'm just a little nervous to see how it blows up when I break the news to her. He frowned when she said this, his eyes narrowing, deep in thought. So, you think she's going to be mad about us moving in together? He asked and she shrugged. Maybe, but that's not what I meant. I'm pretty sure that she's going to be mad about us being together again. She thought he was going to be angry, want to defend them to her best friend, but he handled that with much more maturity than she expected. He got out of the car, but what she found odd was how relaxed he seemed. There wasn't tension in his body as he walked around the car to her door. Before he got there, she opened the door and climbed out, straightening out the skirt of her party dress, making sure it covered as much skin as possible. She knew Jake didn't like for others to see her in anything too revealing or sexy, so she hoped this dress hadn't caused him too much anxiety or anger when he saw her the night before. He stopped in front of her, taking in the fact that she was averting his gaze, her eyes on the floor. Else. Placing his finger under her chin, he guided it up, meeting her nervous eyes. I understand where she is coming from and, in her shoes, I would probably feel the same way. I have caused you so much pain and I feel so grateful that you are willing to give me a second chance after how bad I messed things up. A relieved yet loving smile graced her lips before she took his other hand in hers. I understand why you did what you did, Jake. I'm not mad at you for that. He smirked at her before pressing his forehead to hers. That's my girl. She smiled to herself as his arms moved around her waist, holding her close in his arms. I don't want to leave you, but I know you need the privacy to tell her. If you need me, you know I'm only a call away. She nodded right before he gave her the sweetest, most loving kiss she had ever received in her whole life. He pulled out of the kiss and smirked at her as she blushed. I'll see you tomorrow, okay? She nodded shortly, a little nervous, as he released her. She watched as he walked around the car and got into the driver's seat. Her heart sped up as the car drove away. I love you. She thought as the car disappeared before she went up the steps to her front door. She took her key out of her bag and unlocked the door before going inside. She was surprised when she saw Angela dash at her and start looking her over. Where the hell have you been? I've been so fucking worried. What did he do to you? It was like Angela was patting her down and Bella shooed her hands away. Bang, I'm okay, alright. Embry was supposed to tell you I was with Jake. She hugged the flaps of Jake's jacket to her chest, trying to hide her sniffing his intoxicating scent on the jacket. She couldn't get enough of his scent. Angela caught this and groaned in disgust. Would you stop that? Angela was beyond irritated as it was, and Bella becoming a giddy, lovesick girl was not helping at all. What? Bella asked and Angela scowled at her. Why the hell would you leave that bar with him? You promised me you would go one night, just one night, without that asshole. I've held my tongue for this long, but enough is enough. You deserve much better than him. He might have lots of money, which I know doesn't attract you, but Jake isn't a relationship guy. You deserve someone who can completely love you and not be afraid of love and wants to embrace what you have to offer instead of hiding from it. Why can't you see that? Why the hell can't you just move on from him? Bella had enough of Angela's rant. Stop it. Angela flinched back from the backbone Bella showed, and Bella quickly relaxed from the anger that had been building during Angela's rant. Angela, I love you and you are my best friend, but you don't have to like Jake or agree with me wanting to be with him. He makes me feel amazing and that's all that matters to me. Yeah, I left the bar with Jake and do you know why? It's because Tyler, our good friend, basically tried to force himself on me outside of the bar when I went outside to get some air, and Jake protected me. And, when I was dying in my dad's pool, who pulled me out and performed CPR on me. It was Jake who did so. Say anything you want about him, but he's always there for me when I need him to be, and that's what matters, and that's why I'm moving in with him, and Angela caught what she said. What? Did you just say you are moving in with Jake? Bella nodded and Angela's jaw slacked before she shrieked. Are you fucking serious? Bella couldn't tell if this was excitement, shock, or disgust. Yes, he asked me to move in with him, and I said yes. I know you can only afford this place with me living here, but I need to do what's right for. No, no, no. That's not it at all. I was just worried about telling you that I'm moving in with Embry, and now you're moving in with Jake. Bella's jaw slacked when Angela said this. You and Embry are moving in together? Angela nodded before hugging her best friend. I may not like Jake, but I am happy for you. Bella relaxed at this and hugged her friend closer. I am so glad you are happy. He must be getting more serious about you if he asked you to move in with him. Angela pulled back and escorted Bella to the couch where they sat down next to each other. Yeah, he is. I think the separation was what he needed to get his priorities in order. It might not have been ideal, but I think it set his mind right. Or as right as it can get. She added in thought and smiled big. Oh, my God. You are absolutely glowing. God, you're not pregnant, are you? Bella remembered their whole scare from earlier and shook her head. No, not pregnant, but I do need to get back on birth control. Jake has a doctor friend of his going out to his house tomorrow to get me back on birth control as soon as possible, so that will be taken care of. Angela relaxed at this. It would just be too creepy if Bella was pregnant and not for a reason people would think. Good, but I do have some more news. I'm waiting to tell others, but you are my best friend, so you are going to be one of the first to hear about. Embry already knows and I won't be surprised if he has told Jake about it. Bella was confused by this. What could she possibly have to tell her? What more could there be to add to the whole I'm moving in with Embry bit? What is it? You know you can tell me anything. Angela smiled as her hands went to her abdomen. I'm pregnant. Bella's jaw dropped at this news. You're pregnant. Angela nodded happily as Bella gasped. Oh, my God. Then, she threw her arms around Angela who chuckled wholeheartedly. I can't believe it. How? Bella pulled back and she noticed that Angela's joy was radiating from her. It was impossible to not see. I'm not sure. I was taking my birth control and we were also using condoms to be extra careful and I still got pregnant. It's like a miracle. I've never heard of that happening to someone before, but I'm also kind of glad that it did. Bella was in absolute shock. She was struggling to wrap her head around the idea of Angela having a baby with Embry. Sure, they were perfect for each other, but them being parents together was hard for Bella to imagine. Embry was a little freaked out at first, but after a bit, he started to get excited about it. He started talking about clearing out the game room in his place and turning it into a nursery. This was just so sweet. How long have you known? You were drinking at the bar, weren't you? She asked, a little confused, and Angela shook her head. It was just Sprite. I took an at-home pregnancy test a week ago and we got it confirmed by a doctor on Wednesday. See? She pulled an ultrasound photo out of her pocket and showed it to Bella. All she could see was a bubble with another bubble in it that was solid. That's the baby. Angela nodded before putting it back in her pocket. That's why Embry asked me to move in with him. He wants to be proactive for the pregnancy, you know, wait on me hand and foot type of stuff. It's so cute really. He brought up marriage, but I turned that down flat. I don't want to get married just because I'm pregnant. I want to get married because he wants us to, when we are ready for that step. Bella listened as Angela went on and on for hours about the baby she was pregnant with and Embry's different behaviors since she found out about the baby. After some time, Bella made dinner for them and Angela told her that she would be moving out in 2 weeks, which gave Bella very little time to find new tenants to take over the apartment. They still had 3 months left on the lease. She was sure Jake would want her out of there earlier than 2 weeks. This was going to get complicated and she knew it. Bella went into her bedroom freshly showered and decided to video call Jake because she knew it would be easier and she really wanted to see his face. She put on her headphones just in case Angela was listening and started the call. It rang a few times then he answered, a big smile on his face. "Hey, beautiful. What's going on?" he asked casually and she smirked. "Did you know about all the stuff going on with Angela and Embry?" she asked and he chortled before shifting around a bit. She could tell he was lounging on his couch, shirtless. She loved the view of that chest of his. "She finally told you, huh? I figured she would have told you a couple days ago. Embry has been screaming from the rooftops that she is moving in with him." Bella couldn't help but laugh at this. "So, Embry didn't tell you the other thing?" He looked confused at this and he wasn't sure what she was getting at. "What other thing?" "Angela's pregnant." His jaw slacked at this and his shock was impalpable. "Yeah, that was how she felt when she found out." "Say that again." "I could have sworn you said Angela was pregnant." Bella nodded, showing her befuddlement. "Yeah, she is. Trust me. I was shocked when she dropped that huge bombshell. She said that's why Embry asked her to move in with him, because he wants her clothes while she's expecting. She said they were super careful, but she still got pregnant. To me, that's just wow. I can't even imagine her pregnant. It's weird." He snickered at this. "They mustn't have been careful enough." Bella shrugged a little. "She said she was taking the pill every day and they were using condoms. I really do believe that because Angela has always been very careful with her birth control. The last thing she wanted was to get pregnant before finishing college and getting married. She's a preacher's daughter if that tells you anything about why." He looked amazed by this. "Seriously?" Bella nodded before snickering. "Yeah, her family is still under the impression that she's a virgin. Just imagine how they will react when they find out about the baby. Her dad is going to flip and trust me when I say Pastor Weber is a force to be reckoned with." Jake just thought the image was hilarious. Angela, a grown woman, having her ass handed to her by her father who was also a pastor. It was comical. I knew Embry had to be overly happy for a reason. There were very few men Embry's age that he knew that would be in that situation and not be happy. He was the only guy his age not wanting to start a family. "Also, she reacted very well to me moving in with you. Her hormones must already be going crazy because she was yelling at me right before I told her." Bella could see how his eyes darkened with anger. "She yelled at you?" His voice mimicked how he was feeling. He was very protective of her and it enraged him to think of anyone yelling at her, treating her with disrespect, or even just rolling their eyes at her. She deserved better than that. "Jake, she was just worried because I didn't come home last night." Bella fibbed to keep him from getting madder at Angela. She knew Angela didn't like Jake and that was her right to feel that way, but it wasn't going to change her mind about him. He was the one she wanted to be with. "Still, she shouldn't have yelled at you." Bella smirked from his protectiveness of her. She thought it was sweet how he seemed to put her up on a pedestal. It wasn't really yelling. More like her voice was elevated from stress. He relaxed once she said this, and it was true. Angela was just very stressed out from everything going on. "I can't wait to see you tomorrow," he admitted and she blushed at that. "But you are seeing me right now." He rolled his eyes at his, amused. "It's not the same. I can't kiss you or hold you or lay you in my bed," and she didn't even let him continue. "I get the picture." If he continued, she swore she would turn into a tomato. His eyes narrowed and they darkened with displeasure. "Let me finish, kitten." She knew, when he called her that, he was in dom mode and his voice confirmed this, too. His voice sounded so hot when he talked like that. "Yes, master." She bowed her head a little, like she knew he liked her to do when he spoke to her in this voice. "If you were here, I would lay you down in my bed. I would strip off all your clothes before tying your arms and legs to each of my bedposts. Then, I would slip my blindfold over your eyes before playing with you." She could have sworn she heard a zipper and he started groaning. "First, I would kiss all over your neck and bite down on your shoulder. Then, I would play with those gorgeous tits of yours using my mouth and my thumb. You would surely be trembling from just that, kitten. Am I right?" She bit her lip when he asked her this. She noticed his breathing was getting heavier and she would admit that her gut was coiling at the images he put in her head. "Say it." "Yes, master." He grunted this time and she quickly realized something. He was masturbating to this fantasy he was describing to her. That just made her even hotter for him, her need growing. "Yeah, then I'd lick my way down your stomach, tease your belly button just how you like, then kiss my way down your legs, teasing you by trailing my mouth down. You wouldn't be able to see me. All you could do was feel and you would love every second of it, wouldn't you?" Bella nodded while squirming where she sat. "Yes." She breathed out a moan and he smirked at the reaction this was getting from her. "Then, I would spread open your beautiful wet pussy and devour you. I'd make sure you'd come good and hard for me, screaming my name, before I put this inside you." He quickly turned the camera to show his long, thick and dark erection, his hands still stroking himself rapidly. She whimpered when she saw this, clenching her thighs together. How could he get this reaction out of her with just telling her what he wanted to do to her? I would bend you over with your ass in the air and fuck you soft and slow at first, then hard and fast. Spanking your delicious ass, pulling your hair and biting into your neck. I bet you'd like that, wouldn't you, baby girl? A quiet squeal left her lips as she continued to watch him jerking off. Yes, I would love that very much. She responded breathlessly and he chuckled knowingly. You want it right now, don't you? She whimpered as she bit her lip, slowly slipping her hand into her panties. She couldn't stand the frustration anymore. She needed some type of relief from how he was riling her up. She softly stroked her clit and a quiet moan left her lips. Are you touching yourself? His tone sounded angry as he stroked himself faster and she met his speed with her own. Aha. She was never one to masturbate, but damn, this man got her so horny with just his words. Did I tell you that you could touch yourself, Isabella? Shit, he was pissed now and she was disappointment when he stopped stroking himself and put his dick back in his pants. She had forgotten about that little rule of his. She wasn't allowed to pleasure herself without his permission whether she asked for it or he granted it of his own accord. No master. You just got me so wound up. She sounded so sheepish, but it wasn't going to do her any good. I will be at your apartment in 5 minutes. It seems I need to show you that you are all mine and I will not allow you to disobey me. Then the line went dead and her breath caught in her throat. Oh, she was in for a hell of trouble. A part of her was excited for it, but another was terrified out of her mind. What the hell was he going to do to her? Her entire world was black from the blindfold over her eyes. He had her hands bound up to the bedposts in his playroom as she struggled to control her breathing. She had been stuck like this for over an hour, completely bare for him. As soon as he arrived at her apartment, he dragged her off to La Push, where he instantly sent her to his playroom. When he referred to punishment as pleasurable torture, he wasn't kidding. He had robbed her of sight, bound her to the bed, then just ran his thumb very slowly around her slit and her clit. The lack of sight had heightened the tension he had been building with her. It was beyond teasing. It was pure torture. She whimpered aloud and he slapped her thigh roughly, growling at her. You shouldn't have been touching yourself without permission, kitten. Tears leaked down her face from the ball of pressure in her gut, a result of his punishment. She knew she wasn't supposed to talk, that she risked another spanking, but she took the risk. I'm sorry, master. He hummed in approval before he removed his hand from her tempting center. You better be. He stood up, which she only felt the shift of the bed, and he strolled around the bed toward her head, while simultaneously undoing his pants. She wasn't the only one being tortured here. He had been dealing with a throbbing erection that whole time, and it took all of his self-control to hold out from fucking her. Do you know what you did wrong? He asked with that dominating voice that always sent jolts through her lady bits. Her thighs tensed in response. I touched myself without permission. A soft moan slipped from her supple lips as he grabbed a condom off the table beside the bed before opening a drawer, pulling out a toy he had just purchased to surprise her. He got a full-sized ultra-powerful wand vibrator just for her. He had been wanting to see how she would react to it and he was planning on doing it now. He got rid of his pants, put the condom on, hooked up the wand, then crawled up the bed between her legs, bending over his sub. It seems you need to learn some self-control, or maybe I just need to keep you tied up all the time. He could see from the way her face tensed that this idea made her wet. Perhaps, I just have to keep you so sated that there is never a need for you to touch yourself. Her legs twitched and she took in a deep ragged breath in response to his tease. Her chest arched slightly and he chuckled. It looks like you like that idea. She slowly nodded and he smirked, stroking along her jaw. That's my girl. She smiled from what had become his catchphrase. It was like he was trying to remind himself that she had devoted herself to him and that he was her dom again. You showed tremendous self-control during your punishment. I think that I should reward you for that with a special gift I got just for you. I know you are going to love it. He whispered the tease seductively in her ear, earning him a soft, sweet moan. Don't worry about holding in your moans or forcing in your release. You've earned this 10 times over, my love. He pressed a passionate kiss to her mouth before roughly pushing the wand onto her clit, flipping the switch on full blast. The vibrations of the wand shook the whole bed. She arched as the highest level of pleasure she had ever experienced consumed her, sending a thrilling screaming from her lips. Yeah, that's my girl. Let it all out. She panted like crazy as her legs shook, her gut tightening more and more. Yes, yes, yes. She cried out then squealed for him. Oh, my God. I'm gonna come. Her voice squeaked then her orgasm hit, a bucket of her juices spraying out of her across his abs. He purred with satisfaction at the sight before ripping the silver condom package before slipping it on. That's right. Looks like you love your new toy. She moaned as he pulled the wand away, slipping himself into her. She cried out from the tease of him moving into her still convulsing walls. She shook from the pleasure and he pressed the wand back to her clit on a much lower setting, still a strong vibration. That's my good girl. You love me fucking you, don't you? You want it bad. I know you do. She cried out and nodded. I want you, master. Take me as you wish. He growled in arousal at her demand and threw the wand to the floor, pounding away at her. Take you as I wish. That's some bold words, my pet. You have no idea how I wish to fuck you. I would want to take you to a high-end restaurant and have hundreds of strangers watch me fuck your brains out, bent over a table. Her gut coiled at his words and she arched, screaming out. Oh, someone likes that. The idea of a bunch of people watching me make you mine. Seems my girl is a kinky little thing. He slammed his length into her again and again before grabbed her neck in his hand, turning her face away from him, and he roughly bit her neck. You are mine. No one else will ever have you like me, my Bella. He whispered before he grunted, spilling his load into the condom. The both of them relaxed from the end of their scene before he slowly pulled out of her, sitting up. He removed her blindfold and their eyes locked, smirks across their mouths. Wow. She quietly spoke and he chuckled. Did you learn your lesson? She nodded vigorously as he untied her wrists. He noticed the reddening of her skin there and frowned. He reached into the bedside drawer and pulled out a tube of ointment. He rubbed some on her wrists while helping her sit up. She let out a soft moan as she slowly moved to the edge of the bed. He slowly lifted her into his arms and carried her to their room where he drew them a bath. He hooked up his phone to the stereo he had in the bathroom before he turned to the bathtub where she was relaxing, her hair on top of her head. He looked at her with dazed eyes as she crossed her legs under the bubbles, flushing at him. Are you just going to stand there and gawk? She teased him and he smirked at her. Yes. His voice remained even as she huffed. Too bad. He turned on a sensual song on his phone before moving over to her, firmly massaging her shoulders. She let out a soft moan as he worked at her tense muscles. Her eyes drifted shut as she enjoyed the way he was caring for her. He bent his head down and placed a soft kiss on her neck. I love you. He whispered in her ear for the first time since he first confessed his feelings for her. Jacob, she softly moaned his name, then his mouth crashed against hers. His tongue tangoed with hers in the torrid kiss as his hand glided down her body before disappearing between her legs. She mewed as he teased her clit and kept his lips locked with hers. She whimpered and moaned as he worked her sweet spot. She was in rapture from how he knew just how to touch her. She was approaching her orgasm faster than normal. Without removing his hand from her or his lips from hers, he slipped into the bath with her, moving his body between her legs. Pinning her arms behind her head, he slammed himself into her tensing peach. She released a kiss and gasped aloud in surprise. Don't worry. I'll stop before I come, baby girl. She arched towards him as she let out a loud moan. Don't hold any of it in. He whispered before pulling her body flush against him, forcing her hands to his jaw. She moved her hands to his hair and grasped his strands before kissing him again. Jacob, show me how much you love me. She demanded before kissing him again. He grabbed her hair and pulled her head back before kissing along her sweet neck. I'll show you as much as I need to, Bells. He growled to her before biting at her flesh. She let out a loud whimper as she rocked herself against him, praying for it to never end. Jacob sat casually in the living room, scanning through his emails, as Bella and the doctor came out of his office. He put his phone down and slowly stood up as Bella gave Carlisle a hug. It's been a long time, Bella. It was good to see you, dear. Don't be such a stranger, alright? He said, which left Jacob stumped. Sure thing, Carlisle. Say hi to Esme for me. She snickered as Jacob moved to stand next to her. Be good to her, Jacob. She's a special young lady. Carlisle tipped his fedora at her and she rolled her eyes. Flattery gets you nowhere, Carlisle. Be careful. She said before he turned and left. Jacob pulled her into his arms as he looked at her skeptically. What? She inquired concerned. What was that? She felt like rolling her eyes at him for his distrust of any males around her, but she knew that would get a bad reaction from him. Do you remember how I told you about my ex that turned out to be gay? She asked and he nodded. Carlisle is his father. Carlisle has been my doctor since I moved back to Washington. She explained and he relaxed before caressing her soft jaw, meeting her soft caring eyes. What a small world this is. Carlisle is also Emmett's brother. He explained and she looked to him confused. Emmett? Who's that? She asked curiously and he chuckled in amusement. Rose's husband. She frowned at the mention of that vile woman. She had still never met her, but she didn't care to either. That woman belonged behind bars for what she did to Jacob. She had a growing suspicious of her. She had a working theory about that woman. She had recalled what Jacob said about that accident that had killed Jalen Hale. That truck had come straight from Rose. A seasoned mechanic would have noticed there was something wrong with the wheel. She was worried that it was possible that Rose rigged that truck to fall apart on Jacob. She felt so full of rage whenever she thought of that witch. Jacob could have easily been the one who was killed in that accident. Oh. She said before she walked over to the kitchen. She needed to escape that conversation before he started to talk about Rose and Emmett more. She grabbed a bottle of water from the fridge and twisted off the cap before taking a small sip of water. "So, what did the doctor say?" Jacob asked as he strolled into the kitchen and smirked at Bella. "Oh, that I have to refrain from all sexual activity for 6 weeks," she said straight-faced, and his face dropped. "What?" She snickered before strolling over to him, giving him a sweet kiss. "I'm kidding. 48 hours for the depot shot to be working. You should have seen your face." She laughed as he scowled at her. "That's not funny." "Oh, yes, it was. You look like I took your candy away." He cackled before kissing her. "Just a bit. You're irresistible." "If you say so. We'll see how irresistible I am after you see me battling the flu." He grinned before kissing her lovingly. "You'll still be adorable. Just, from a distance." She shoved his shoulder playfully as he laughed. "You're horrible." Bella drove herself back to the apartment Sunday evening and jumped out of the car with a bit of a pep in her step. She whistled to herself until she saw a dark figure standing by her door, which stopped her in her tracks. Rachel. The heartless witch who birthed the man she loved, smirked at her. "Evening, Bella. I've been waiting for you for quite some time." Bella was incredibly nervous as she stood in front of her. "I'm sorry. I wasn't expecting any company." Rachel slowly nodded. "Returning from a weekend in La Push, I presume?" Bella glanced over to her car before slowly nodding. "Yes, actually." Rachel slowly nodded towards the door impatiently. "Oh, sorry. You just caught me off guard." Bella took out her keys and unlocked the front door. "Come on in." As always, the apartment was spotless, but she noticed that Angela had framed her ultrasound picture and put it on the bookcase by the door. Rachel immediately picked it up before looking at it. "Wow, is this?" Rachel motioned to Bella's stomach and she gasped before quickly shaking her head. No. That's my roommate's ultrasound. She just found out that she's expecting and she's pretty excited about it." Rachel slowly nodded before setting down the frame, stepping more into the apartment. Are you thirsty? I have some cold bottles of water in the fridge." She asked nervously and Rachel slowly shook her head. "No, but if you need some nourishment, don't mind me." Bella slowly nodded and slipped into the kitchen before pulling her phone into her trembling hands. 911. "Your mother is in my fucking living room." She sent the text to Jacob and waited a minute for his response, her heart hammering out of her chest the whole time. Okay. Not sure how that warrants 911. You don't get it. Rachel is in my fucking living room. She was standing outside my front door when I got here." "What?" Exactly my response. "Now do you get the 911? I have no idea what she is doing here. How the hell did she even find out where I live? How should I know? Just tell her to go away." Problem solved. "Jacob, I can't do that. I already let her inside. Don't you have some advice on how to deal with that woman without pulling my hair out?" "Earplugs?" Bella groaned and slipped her phone in her back pocket before grabbing a bottle of water from the fridge, slipping into the living room. "I'm a bit surprised you don't have at least one picture of you and my son hanging up somewhere." Rachel turned to her with an all-knowing look on her face. "So, tell me, Bella. Are you embarrassed of your status as his submissive?" The bottle of water fell for her hand at the shocking things Rachel had said. Excuse me?" Rachel snickered before slipping the glasses off her head, setting them on the coffee table. "Oh, I'm sorry. Did I stutter? Was my voice too quiet? Are you embarrassed of your position as my son's sub? There is no room for inhabitations in BDSM, sweetie." Bella had gone into shock from the things Rachel had said. Mary, Jesus, and Joseph. She knows. She knows about Jake being a dom. Bella thought of texting Jake again, but from the look on Rachel's face, she figured it was a bad idea. "Or maybe I just surprised you by asking so bluntly," she said, and Bella slowly nodded, taking a deep breath. "How long have you known?" She finally spoke and Rachel smirked darkly. "From the moment I walked into my parents' house and saw the two of you together. I thought it was quite strange that the first girl any of us met that my son was with happened when he was 29. Then, I saw you together and it made so much sense. I always saw so much of his father in him and now I understand why. Like father like son." Bella watched Rachel with confusion. "His father?" Rachel slowly nodded. "I thought Paul was his father." Rachel laughed aloud while clutching her stomach. "Don't make me laugh. I love Paul dearly, but that man doesn't have a single commanding bone in his body. Jacob didn't get it from me. Why the hell would you think he could have gotten it from Paul?" "But Jake said that's who his father was." She pressed. "I'm not about to let that boy know who truly sired him. Telling him his father was Paul was the best way to satisfy his thirst for information. How do you think he would react if he found out that he was predispositioned to be exactly the way he is?" Bella rolled her eyes, overwhelmed by the things Rachel was saying. "I know you think I'm a heartless bitch, but I'm not." Bella huffed at that. "Yeah, sure. You make comments towards him like traffic is killer and you are sure to win the Mother of the Year award. Bella sarcastically threw her daggers at Rachel, who was unmoved. Do I make sure my son thinks I despise him? Yes, I do. Where do you think he got his ability to always think on his feet? He got that from me, Swan. I don't hate Jacob. Quite the contrary. I love my son. I'd love nothing more than to see him happy with his life, married with children and a smile always plastered on his face. You have no idea how hard it is to never show positive emotions to your only child, never being able to tell him how proud you truly are of him, never being able to hug him or kiss away his tears when he hurts himself or has his heart broken. Do you have even an inkling of an idea what that is like? Do you know how heartbreaking it is to never be able to tell your son how much you love him and how you never wanted to hurt him? Bella watched as tears filled Rachel's eyes, an emotional gulp moving up and down her throat before she looked out the window at the rain. Why do you then? Why do you treat him the way you do? I have to force him to not want to be near me one way or another. Being a major bitch is the best way. It's the only way to protect him in case his father ever finds out about him. Trust me. You don't want to see the man Jacob would become if his father was involved in his life. You wouldn't recognize the sadist that would be brought out of him. I once looked at his father the way you look at Jacob. I saw more in him than he saw in himself, than anyone else ever did. At first, it was blissful. He introduced me to a world I had never seen before. He blinded me and opened my eyes simultaneously. He made all the colors of the world brighter and he turned all the darkness in the world to completely black. There was no gray area with him. Only the extremes. Rachel looked at Bella to see her rubbing her bottom lip obsessively. And I can see you know exactly what that is like. The colors are brightest before the storm hits. I don't want the storm to hit for you and my son. He's happy with you. I can see you're the only person that can keep him away from the violent storm that lays dormant. Rachel stated before wiping away her tears. Jacob's father was my first and only dom, much like I can see that Jacob is your first. Bella let out a shocked breath before looking to Rachel. What happened? If you loved his father so much, why did you give Jacob up? Rachel frowned before slipping off her blazer, revealing a gray silk halter top. This is why. She turned around and showed her back to Bella, who gasped aloud. There were long thick scars down Rachel's back from her shoulders down past her waist where the shirt cut it off. There were hundreds of scars covering her back. Oh, my God. Tears filled Bella's eyes as she looked at the marks. Jacob's father did that to you? Rachel nodded before she turned to Bella. He broke my hardest limit, drawing blood. He got angry because one of his friends made eyes at me. He blamed me. He tied me down to his bed face down and beat for over an hour with a homemade flogger with tacks on the leather, and he did it while I was pregnant with Jacob. I was going to tell him that he was going to be a father until he did that. After that, I knew I could never trust him again and I was worried about my baby. I thought, if he could do that to me, what harm would he do to my child? I hid away from him for the rest of my pregnancy and I went to the hospital and gave birth to my baby boy. I couldn't even let myself look at Jacob. I gave him up for adoption to protect him from his father. I cried for 36 hours after the nurses took him away. I never wanted to give away my baby. I wanted to watch him grow and know that I gave him a good life. Because of his father. Bella gnawed at her fingernails as she paced around her apartment, anxiety filling her. Her heart was racing and her hands were shaking. Tears were filling her eyes as she thought of everything Rachel had told her. Bella. She turned to the door as it was thrown open and there was Jacob, looking panicked. She had called him, crying her eyes out, unable to make a coherent word, and he raced to her. Bella, God. She ran to him and he took her in his arms as she clung to him, crying into his chest. Jake, thank God you're here. He sighed into her hair as he held her close. Baby, what did she do? Are you okay? Did she hurt you? He was panicked and she vigorously shook her head. No, Rachel didn't do anything, I swear. She cried to him as he pulled back, cupping her face in his hands. Els, look at you. He wiped away her tears before she pulled him down to her level, kissing him passionately. Why didn't you just send her away when I told you to? This is what she does. She hurts people on purpose. She shook her head quickly. No, she didn't do anything wrong. She wasn't mean or cruel or anything. She said a lot of things and it all makes sense now. Everything does and. She sobbed as he rubbed the hair out of her face, watching her feature. But, baby, you're crying. He pressed and she nodded. Because of the things she explained to me. She already knew about me being your sub and you being a dom. No one told her. She just knew from seeing us together. He looked at her baffled, eyes wide. What? Are you sure? You didn't say something that could have told her that. She shook her head rapidly. No. She knew from just watching me and you together because she was a sub. His shock was merciless. She thought that maybe she shouldn't tell him about his father, but then she realized that was crazy. He deserved to know. She said your father was her dom. she explained, and his eyes showed an intense emotional pain. What? Are you sure? She nodded with tears in her eyes. She was certain. She knows exactly who he is. I think she knew I would tell you because she wouldn't say his name, but she said that he was the reason she gave you away, to protect you from him. He held her tight in his arms and sighed. It's okay, Bells. Just forget about her and all of that. She shook her head before cupping his face in her hands. I can't, Jake. I can't just forget because she told me so many things that just made everything click because I'm not that different from her. Before I hated the idea of being anything like her, but I get it now. I thought I was doing the right thing for us by holding it all in because I don't want to lose you, but now I know how wrong that is, Jake. He looked at her surprised and uncertain. Holding what in? He asked as fresh tears filled her eyes. When you pulled me out of the pool and you told me that you loved me, I said it back to you, but I let you think I said it because there were so many people around us, but that's not true. I feel the same as you, Jake. I'm so impossibly, irreversibly in love with you. I love you so much, Jacob Black. She kissed him passionately and pulled her close to him, burying his hands in her hair. Bells, I'm never leaving you. He declared before kissing her again. I love you, too, baby. She whimpered when he said that and pulled him closer to her, meshing her lips with his. You're everything to me. He whispered huskily before pinning her body against the wall, forcing his jacket off his shoulders. She pushed it down the rest of the way before pulling him back against her, his mouth gliding across her jaw with fluid passion, lifting her up by her legs, throwing her legs around his waist. Ended. Have a great day, very tired for now, bye bye.